The young driver, starting from sending the drunk boss home. My boss has a breathtakingly elegant wife. She is kind-hearted and completely mismatched with my boss, who has a big belly and a bald head. Yet, they seem to be deeply in love. I always thought it was true love until one day, I discovered my boss checking into a hotel room with a woman who called him brother-in-law. Chapter 1: Indulgence in the Underground Parking Lot. The first time I saw my boss's wife was on a summer night. I still remember it vividly. The moonlight that night was especially bright, but I had no mood to appreciate it. At that time, I had no money and hadn't eaten anything for an entire day. So, I thought I would take advantage of the quiet late night and look through some trash bins to see if I could find something to eat. I was a young man from a mountain village. I had no formal education, no job. But in reality, I had done very well in school. I was among the top 10 in the entire county during my middle school exams. The only reason I dropped out was that my grandfather, who I was living with, suffered a stroke that year. I decided to quit school to care for him and also inherited my family's traditional Chinese medicine skills, using them to treat minor ailments for the people in my village. At the age of 23, my grandfather passed away. I decided to go out and try my luck. With only 200 yuan to my name, I came to the provincial capital. People from my village who worked in the provincial capital told me that there were opportunities everywhere. But after a month in the city, I still hadn't found a job. The night I met my boss's wife, I was penniless and hadn't eaten for a full day and night. Originally, I could have picked up some discarded food, but I was too shy. So, I waited until the late hours to go out. I managed to find 2 steamed buns in a trash bin, but before I could eat them, I was knocked to the ground by a drunken woman. The buns I had found fell into the dirty water. The woman knocked me down and cursed me for being blind. At that moment, I had no strength to argue and could only sit on the ground and catch my breath. She continued cursing, accusing me of pretending to be a victim. Just then, my boss's wife walked over and spoke up for me. The woman, still grumbling, walked away. I still clearly remember the scene from that day. My boss's wife bent down to look at me. Under the streetlight, she looked especially divine. She was wearing a crimson long-sleeve sweater, her waist slender, her hair tied up in a high ponytail, exuding an elegant and intellectual beauty. What I remember most vividly is her pair of beautiful bright eyes. When my boss's wife looked at me with those eyes, I felt as though a beam of sunlight had pierced through my cold heart. I don't remember if I thanked her at the time, but I do recall that she wasn't scared off by my dirty and disheveled appearance, like others had been. I don't know how I looked back then. I only know that I had been living under a bridge for a month, eating just a few buns every day. I hadn't brought a comb or mirror, so I must have looked terrible. But when my boss's wife saw me, she hesitated for just a moment before warmth rose in her beautiful eyes. "Little brother, wait here for a moment." With that, she quickly turned and ran off. I thought she had been frightened by my appearance, so I didn't pay much attention to her words. After she left, I continued searching through the trash bins, hoping to find another bun. But my luck was terrible. I rummaged through 4 or 5 bins but found nothing. Just as I was about to try another street, a gentle voice called out behind me. "Wait a moment." I turned around to see my boss's wife holding a bag of steamed buns, offering them to me. Her nose and forehead were covered in fine sweat, clearly from rushing. I don't remember how I devoured the entire bag of buns. All I remember is that after finishing them, my boss's wife pulled me along, saying she was going to take me somewhere. Her hand was so soft. She had a light, pleasant fragrance. And at that time, my mind was blank, I just numbly followed her. Because I knew, my boss's wife was a kind person. I don't know how much time passed, but we arrived at a construction site. Someone found a clean set of clothes for me and took me to shower. Later, I found out that the construction site belonged to her family. From then on, I stayed at the site working. Although the daily wage was only 100 yuan, I, a kid from the mountains, was already very content. Afterward, a childhood friend from my village came to me, asking me to work at their construction site, offering 150 yuan a day, but I didn't go. Perhaps my boss's wife had learned about it. She had the foreman send me to learn to drive, and I started driving at the construction site. This job was much easier than moving bricks, and the pay was better. To repay my boss's wife, I worked even harder. Soon after, my boss moved me to his side to drive for him, and my salary increased from 4,000 to 5,000. I was truly grateful to my boss, but today I regret it. Because I discovered an untold secret of my boss. Today, my boss had a business dinner, and I arrived at the restaurant on time to take him home. Whenever my boss drank, he always had me drive him home. Sometimes when he got too drunk, I would have to carry him into the room and help my boss's wife undress him. After all, my boss's wife was a delicate beauty, and she couldn't possibly carry a 180-pound fat man by herself. Worried about traffic, I arrived an hour early at the restaurant's underground parking lot. As soon as I drove into the lot, I saw my boss following a woman in a red dress into a BMW SUV. The woman in the red dress was very beautiful, with an excellent figure. Her name was Song Xiaodan, and she was my boss's wife's best friend. Normally, Song Xiaodan would call our boss brother-in-law in a familiar tone. But now, I saw her intimately link arms with my boss and rest her head on his shoulder. I quickly tried to reassure myself. It's just city people, it's normal. But no sooner had I reassured myself than I saw my boss's hand wrapped around Song Xiaodan's waist. Not only that, as soon as they got into the car, they embraced each other. I also saw my boss's right hand slowly move under Song Xiaodan's skirt. At that moment, I felt a bit dazed, but I thought maybe my boss was drunk and had mistaken Song Xiaodan for his wife. I thought that Song Xiaodan would push my boss away. As long as she pushed him away, nothing would happen. But I was too naive. Not only did Song Xiaodan not push my boss away, she even embraced him and kissed him on the lips. In that moment, I was completely stunned. I couldn't understand it. Song Xiaodan was young and beautiful, and I had heard that she was a high-achieving graduate from a prestigious school. But our boss was already in his 40s, with a big belly and a receding hairline. I couldn't understand why someone as beautiful and accomplished as Song Xiaodan would be interested in someone like our boss, a short, unattractive middle-aged man. Wasn't she always calling him brother-in-law? As I stood there in a daze, I saw Song Xiaodan actually sit on my boss's lap. Then, the BMW started shaking. I was frozen in shock when suddenly, Song Xiaodan turned her head and looked at me. At that moment, my heart nearly jumped into my throat. Actually, the window of my car was up, so even if Song Xiaodan looked over, she wouldn't be able to see me inside. But I still felt guilty and shrank down in my seat. In the dim light, I saw Song Xiaodan W's fox-like beautiful face break into a smile, one that seemed to see through everything. Her smile made me feel even more guilty. But I couldn't move right now. The moment I move, they immediately notice me. So I stayed completely still, huddled inside the car, watching Song Xiaodan who looked like an enchantress. Half an hour later, my phone rang. I was afraid of being discovered by my boss, so I quickly drove the car out of the underground garage before answering the phone. Xiao Chen, have you arrived? I hurriedly pressed the horn. Not yet, almost there. I ran into a car accident on the way and got stuck in traffic. When my boss heard this, I could tell he was relieved. Okay, then come pick me up and take me home. I've had a bit too much to drink today. After that, my boss leaned against the car and fell asleep. It looked like my boss was really drunk, but I knew he was pretending to be drunk. Because just a while ago, when he and Song Xiaodan were fooling around in the car, he showed no signs of being drunk at all. I didn't understand why my boss was pretending, but I knew this was something that couldn't be exposed. I had to pretend I hadn't noticed. Otherwise, I might lose my job as a driver. My boss lived in a high-end neighborhood in the city center. I parked the car in front of their villa and was about to help my boss out of the car when I noticed the gate and the front door were ajar. In the usually tidy yard, there were a few delivery boxes lying around. Seeing this, I immediately felt a pang of unease. From what I knew of my boss's wife, she would never leave delivery boxes carelessly scattered in the yard like this. Could it be that there has been a break-in at my boss's house? That was my first reaction. Boss, it looks like there has been a break-in at your house. Stay in the car, I'll check it out, I said as I quietly entered the house. As soon as I entered, I heard strange noises coming from the downstairs bedroom. I quietly grabbed a chair from the living room and slowly walked toward the sound. When I reached the bedroom door, I finally recognized the strange sound. It was coming from my boss's wife. From the sound, she seemed to be ill. I was startled, afraid that she had suddenly fallen ill at home. I quickly put the chair down and was about to push the door open. But just as my hand was about to touch the door, I suddenly stopped. Through the slightly open door, I saw my boss's wife with her eyes closed, her head tilted back. Her stunning face no longer had its usual noble and intellectual aura. Instead, it wore a seductive charm that captivated anyone who looked at it. Chapter 2: Discovering the Secret of the Boss Lady. At this time, the boss lady had two red clouds on her beautiful face, extending along her white neck to her half-exposed collarbone. The boss lady was sitting on a yoga mat practicing. The sunlight outside the window shone on the boss lady, making her perfect figure even more charming. Although I have known the boss lady for 2 years, it was the first time I saw her wearing yoga clothes. Although I am in my 20s, I have never held a girl's hand. Suddenly seeing such a beautiful woman as the boss lady, wearing such yoga clothes, was a huge shock to me. I felt a flame slowly burning in my body. This reminded me of what a friend said before. That guy said that some rich women in the city may look serious, but if you really want to chase them, it is not difficult at all. Especially those young women in their 30s and 40s. Because these women are rich and free, but the men at home are fooling around outside all day, and they don't have much energy to spend on them. They are women, and they are at the age when they need men's care. If the men at home don't cherish them, they will naturally have an affair. The boss's wife is in the same situation. But looking at the boss's wife, it is obvious that she is not the kind of woman who can have an affair at will. At this time, the boss's wife has finished her yoga in the room and is about to get up. I was afraid that the boss's wife would see that I had dirty thoughts about her just now, so I quickly retreated to the door quietly. I retreated to the outside of the yard and shouted into the yard. "Boss's wife, I sent Mr. Lee back." The boss's wife's voice sounded a little panicked. "Oh, wait a minute, I will open the door for you right away." I waited at the door for about 4 or 5 minutes before I saw the boss's wife hurried out to open the door. The boss's wife's face was still flushed. She was wearing a tight yoga suit and a long coat covering her hips. Although she was already 30 years old, the boss's wife looked more beautiful than Song Xiaodan and had a better figure. Her 2 long legs, outlined by yoga pants, have charming curves. My heartbeat accelerated uncontrollably, and my body began to feel abnormal. I quickly moved my eyes away from the boss's beautiful legs. Fortunately, the boss's wife didn't notice me. Seeing me carrying the boss out of the car, the boss's wife frowned slightly. "Why did you drink so much again?" The boss lay on my back and said vaguely, "Wife, I'm not drunk." The boss's wife gave me a bitter smile. "Xiao Chen, thank you for your hard work." I shook my head hurriedly. "Boss, you are too polite. It is my job to send the boss home." As I said, I carried the boss to the second bedroom on the first floor. I used to send the drunk boss home often, and every time the boss's wife asked me to put the boss in the second bedroom on the first floor. But as soon as I opened the door of the second bedroom on the first floor, I was stopped by the boss's wife. The boss's wife looked a little flustered. "Chen Lin, can you help me carry him upstairs today? The bed in the second bedroom is broken." I don't know why the boss's wife was panicking, but I still carried the boss on my back and turned to walk towards the stairs. The boss is 1.75 meters tall and fat. It is not easy to put more than 180 kilograms of body on my back. However, I have been practicing Tai Chi since I was a child, and my strength is much greater than that of ordinary people. The boss's wife looked apologetic. "I'm sorry. Xiao Chen. I still have to ask you to carry Liang Tsai up the stairs." Hearing the boss's wife's words, my heart was warmed. "Boss's wife, you are too polite. This is what I should do. I have no other skills, but I am strong. It is still easy to carry Mr. Lee up the stairs." The boss's wife knew that I was more face conscious, so she smiled and praised me. "Xiao Chen, you are in good health, unlike your boss Lee, who starts panting after a few exercises." When I heard the boss's wife say this, I immediately remembered that the boss's wife had just played with toys in the second bedroom. Although I only saw the boss's wife's charming and eager face, I couldn't help myself. My body immediately reacted uncontrollably. Fortunately, I was bending over and carrying the boss on my back, so it was not easy to be seen. But I was still very panicked, fearing that the boss's wife would find out the abnormality of my body and treat me as a hooligan. So I hurriedly said to the boss's wife, who was ready to help, "Boss, I can carry Mr. Lee by myself. Please help me wipe the second floor first. There seems to be water on it. I am afraid of slipping." I hurriedly found a reason to send the boss's wife away. The boss's wife immediately found a rag and went upstairs to wipe the floor. Originally, I wanted to use this reason to send the boss's wife away so that I could calm down quickly. But when I looked up, I found that the boss's wife was lying on the stairs and wiping the floor. That scene was like adding fuel to the fire. The boss lady was still wearing tight yoga clothes. She had put on a long coat when she came out to pick me and the boss. But now she was lying on the floor mopping the floor, and her coat was pulled up, revealing most of her round buttocks. It was the first time I saw the boss lady in such a sexy look. The anger that had finally subsided suddenly burned more fiercely, and my body's reaction was even stronger. At this moment, the boss's wife suddenly turned around. "Chen Lin, the floor is cleaned. Come up." I panicked, afraid that the boss's wife would notice something strange about me, so I didn't dare to look at her again. I carried the boss upstairs and helped the boss's wife take off his coat, then I left the boss's house quickly. Back in the car, my mind was still full of the boss's wife lying on the floor with her round buttocks sticking out. I have to say that the boss's wife's buttocks are really beautiful. As I thought about it, the flame in my heart began to rise again. But I immediately thought of the boss's wife's kindness to me. "Chen Lin, the boss's wife is your great benefactor. Without her, you would have starved to death long ago. How could you have such a dirty idea about her?" I scolded myself in my heart, and really suppressed the evil thoughts in my mind and drove away quickly. After sending the car back to the company, I began to think about another question: should I tell the boss's wife about the boss's sex with Song Xiaodan in the car today? But I was worried that if I told the boss's wife about this, she would be sad. I am a poor boy from the mountains. I have the life I have today because of the boss's wife. Although I don't want the boss to cheat the boss's wife, I don't want to see the boss's wife sad. Just when I was struggling, a red BMW blocked my way. I looked up and saw Song Xiaodan's charming fox face. I have to say that Song Xiaodan is very beautiful, especially when she smiles. Her beauty is a bit charming, and few men can resist it. But because I knew that she had an affair with the boss, my attitude towards her became much colder. A good dog doesn't block the road. As I said, I wanted to bypass her car. But Song Xiaodan quickly blocked my way again. I bypassed her several times, but Song Xiaodan still pestered me and didn't let me go. I finally couldn't help it. "What do you want to do?" Song Xiaodan was not angry, and still smiled at me. "Let's talk about it after we get in the car." I stood there without moving. I used to think of Song Xiaodan as the boss's good sister, and I was always polite to her. But now I know that she seduced her good sister's husband, and I look down on her now. Naturally, I no longer respect her as before. The smile on Song Xiaodan's face slowly disappeared, and her tone became much colder. "You have to think about it. I'm inviting you now. If you don't get in the car, I'll call your boss Lee later and tell him that you don't give me face. You'll have no job as a driver." Song Xiaodan is a saleswoman who was born in insurance. She saw my weakness at a glance. She knew that I cherished my current job, so she threatened me with my job. Song Xiaodan saw it right. I really cherish my current job. This is not only because this job earns 5,000 yuan a month, which is much easier than factory operators. There is another most important reason: this job allows me to see the boss's wife often. Although I never dared to have any improper thoughts about the boss's wife, every time I saw her, I would feel very happy and eat an extra bowl of rice. After hesitating for 2 seconds, I finally got into Song Xiaodan's car. Song Xiaodan stopped talking and drove me directly to an empty park. "Stop the car." Song Xiaodan looked back and stared into my eyes. "You saw everything in the parking lot this afternoon." I was shocked. Although I had guessed that Song Xiaodan brought me here to tell me about this, I didn't expect her to be so direct. "No." I quickly denied it, but I didn't dare to look at her guilty. Song Xiaodan looked at me, and a happy smile appeared on her fox-like face. "Chen Lin, I didn't ask you what you saw. Why did you say no?" Only then did I realize that I had been fooled by Song Xiaodan. "So what if you saw it? Since you didn't feel ashamed when you did it, are you afraid of me seeing it?" Song Xiaodan came closer. "Have you told your boss's wife?" I wanted to scare Song Xiaodan, but I shook my head. Song Xiaodan's face lit up immediately. I thought Song Xiaodan would ask me why I didn't tell the boss's wife, but she suddenly changed the subject. "I heard that you used to be a doctor in the village, and you know how to diagnose and treat." Can you see if I'm sick? Recently, my chest has been aching from time to time. I looked down at Song Xiaodan's chest. Song Xiaodan was still wearing the red dress she wore in the afternoon. Because she leaned forward, I could clearly see a deep white groove when I looked down. If the boss Li Liangsai encountered such a scene, he would definitely not react. Unfortunately, I was just an inexperienced beginner. Although I tried my best to stay calm, I couldn't hide my excitement. Chapter 3: The deeper meaning of the boss words. Song Xiaodan saw my panic at a glance. I never thought that you are already 24 years old and still a virgin. As she spoke, Song Xiaodan deliberately put her hand on my thigh and glanced at my crotch. My body was already abnormal at this time, so I quickly put my hands on my legs to hide it, but Song Xiaodan had obviously seen it. Song Xiaodan smiled even more happily and more charmingly. Would you like to see my legs? I immediately turned my head away. I don't want to see it. Song Xiaodan ignored my refusal and slowly lifted her red skirt. A pair of beautiful black silk long legs suddenly appeared in front of me. Although I tried my best not to look, I couldn't help it in the end. Song Xiaodan only let me look for 2 seconds before putting her skirt down. Seeing Song Xiaodan put down her skirt, I suddenly felt a sense of loss in my heart, but I pretended to be calm. I must not let Song Xiaodan see the loss in my heart. Although this woman is beautiful, she is a bad woman. I don't want to have anything to do with her. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. As I said that, I was about to open the door and get out of the car. But just as my hand touched the door handle, Song Xiaodan's charming voice sounded behind me. Want to touch it? At that second, I felt the blood in my body freeze. I tried hard to control the impulse in my heart, and finally I suppressed the word, want. But I still let go of the handlebars. Song Xiaodan had obviously seen through my inner thoughts a long time ago. As long as you can help me get one thing done, don't even mention touching me. If you want to enjoy yourself like your boss did this afternoon, that's fine. As Song Xiaodan spoke, she gently licked her plump red lips with her tongue and slowly pulled up her red skirt with her right hand. I stared at her blankly for half a minute before I asked in a dry voice, "What's the matter?" A victorious smile appeared on Song Xiaodan's face. Help me sleep with Sister Xueqing. Song Xiaodan's words were like a bucket of cold water poured on my face, making me sober instantly. Impossible. The boss lady has always been like a goddess in my heart. No matter what time it is, I will never hurt her. Hearing my refusal without hesitation, Song Xiaodan grabbed me. Listen to me first. In fact, it's not me who wants you to do this, but your boss Li Liang who wants you to do this. I looked at Song Xiaodan in disbelief. Impossible. You're lying. The boss lady is his wife. How can a man let his wife sleep with another man? Besides, the boss lady is so beautiful. I spoke my last words in an extremely low voice, fearing that Song Xiaodan would discover the secret in my heart. A mocking look appeared on Song Xiaodan's face. Xiao Chen, you are still too young. Although this kind of thing is unreasonable, for a man who only cares about money, he can still do this kind of thing for the sake of profit. Song Xiaodan said this and lit a cigarette. Do you know how your boss got his start? I shook my head. All I know is that our boss owns several companies and has extensive connections in the provincial capital. Song Xiaodan exhaled a puff of smoke and chuckled. 10 years ago, Li Liangsai was a laborer carrying bricks on a construction site. One day, when he was leaving get off work, he saw Sister Xueqing being harassed by 2 hooligans. Li Liangsai beat the 2 hooligans away and saved Sister Xueqing. He himself also had his head broken. Since then, Sister Xueqing has fallen in love with him. After they got married, Li Liang relied on the connections of Sister Xueqing's family to become successful so quickly. I have also heard people say that the boss's wife's family background seems to be very strong, but this is the first time I have heard of the boss's story of success. In this case, Boss Li will definitely not let me hurt the boss lady. Song Xiaodan took another puff of cigarette and paused for half a minute before saying, I was talking about the past. Recently, Sister Xueqing and her brother offended a big shot in the province, and he threatened to bring down their Luo family. It is precisely because your boss Li heard this rumor that he wanted to draw a clear line with the Luo family in advance. But he didn't want people to say he was ungrateful, so as not to affect his business, so he asked me to come to you. As long as you sleep with his wife, he can divorce Sister Xueqing openly. After listening to Song Xiaodan's explanation, I finally believed it a little. I'll call Boss Lee now. Song Xiaodan put down the cigarette. You don't have to call. Whether you call or ask Li Liangzai in person, he will never admit it. Because he can't let anyone have any handle. Especially you. After hearing what Song Xiaodan said, I put my phone back into my pocket. Then how do I know whether what you said is true or not? Song Xiaodan smiled faintly. I don't really care whether you believe it or not. I also don't care if you're willing to help us do this. If you're not willing, I can find another man. But I think you are quite honest. If I let you do this, the harm to Sister Xueqing might be less. After hearing what Song Xiaodan said, I began to hesitate. Song Xiaodan sometimes really cares about the boss lady, even more than her family. It is precisely because of this that the boss lady recognized her as her godsister. But ever since I saw what Song Xiaodan and Boss Li did in the basement garage in the afternoon, I've concluded that Song Xiaodan's concern for the boss's wife was all fake. But now after hearing what Song Xiaodan said, I began to wonder again. I was not sure whether Song Xiaodan had any true feelings for the boss lady in his heart. I'll have to think about this. After saying that, I hurriedly got off the car. The next day I drove to pick up my boss early in the morning. The moment I saw the boss, I immediately remembered what Song Xiaodan told me yesterday. I really wanted to ask the boss if he asked Song Xiaodan to find me. But seeing the boss lady present, I could only suppress the impulse in my heart. The lady boss was wearing an off-white linen sling, a pair of light pink wide-leg casual pants, and a bun on her head. Although it was a casual outfit, it exuded elegance and nobility. The 30-year-old proprietress is at the best age for a woman. She has the charm of a mature woman while still being tender and delicate. Of course, women of this age also need men the most. I couldn't help but think of the boss lady using toys in her room yesterday. The proprietress at that time, with her eager red lips, looked really charming. But I dare not think too much about it. If I think about it, I will lose my composure. The lady boss didn't notice my abnormality. When she saw me coming to pick up her husband, she gave me a gentle smile. Xiao Chen, drive slowly on the road. I nodded hurriedly, but didn't dare to look at her again. I want you to sleep with Sister Xueqing. Song Xiaodan's words yesterday were like a dose of poison that had already penetrated my internal organs. Looking at the elegant goddess in front of me, I had the urge to desecrate her for the first time. I was afraid that the boss lady would see the impurity in my heart, so I quickly lowered my head. Instead, the proprietress took a few steps towards me with concern. Xiao Chen, are you sick? Why do you look so listless today? As she spoke, the proprietress reached out and touched my forehead. At this second, my heart beat faster. The boss lady's hand was very soft, smooth and warm. I really wanted this hand to stay on my forehead like this forever, but I was worried that the boss lady would notice something was wrong with me, so I was very nervous. The proprietress didn't notice anything unusual about me. She just tested the temperature of my forehead and then took her hand back. I don't seem to have a fever. Having said that, the proprietress turned to the boss again. Liangzai, if you are free today, you'd better let Xiao Chen go to the hospital for a checkup. I always feel that something is wrong with him today. The boss gave his wife a gentle smile. Honey, don't worry. I'll have someone accompany Xiao Chen to the hospital when we get to the company. After saying that, the boss gave me a meaningful look. As the car drove out of the community, the boss, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. Xiao Chen, isn't my wife beautiful? I didn't know why my boss suddenly asked me this, and I thought he saw something, which made me even more panicked. But at the same time, another voice in my heart sounded, the fat man sitting behind you is a hypocrite. He is pretending to be nice to his wife. Didn't he Song Xiaodan say that he wanted you to sleep with his wife? As these thoughts swirled in my mind, I finally spoke up. Boss, I saw a news report today that said a man deliberately arranged for his men to seduce his wife so that his wife would divorce him as soon as possible. Do you think there are really such men in the world? The boss looked at the back of my head and gave a meaningful smile. Xiao Chen, you are still too naive. There are too many men like this in this world. Men are like hunters in a hunting ground, and women are just prey in their eyes. No matter how perfect the prey is, as long as the benefits are great enough, they will give it up. I was a little angry when I heard my boss say this. I used to respect Boss Lee from the bottom of my heart. I even secretly regarded Boss Lee as my role model. But I was really disappointed to hear him say this. If it were you, would you do this? I asked abruptly, with a somewhat stiff tone. I thought Boss Lee would be angry. However, chapter for beauty sales methods. The boss was surprisingly not angry. He seemed to have expected that I would ask this question. Boss Lee didn't answer me, but looked at the traffic outside the window. After a long while, Boss Lee sighed and whispered, "It seems that the Luo family has encountered a lot of trouble recently. If we can't get through this disaster, our good days will be over." After saying that, Boss Lee looked at me again and started smoking with his head down. I have been driving with Mr. Lee for half a year and I know some of his habits. Mr. Lee doesn't smoke much. Most of the time, he gives cigarettes to others and rarely smokes himself. Whenever he smokes on his own initiative, it is usually when he is in a bad mood. At first I didn't understand why Boss Lee didn't answer my questions, but instead told me that the Luo family had recently run into trouble. When I saw Boss Lee smoking, I suddenly realized something. Could it be that Song Xiaodan's visit to me yesterday was really Boss Lee's idea? Does Boss Lee really want me to sleep with his wife? Just as I was hesitating whether to make my words more clearly, Boss Lee suddenly flicked the ash from his cigarette and spoke again. "Xiao Chen, our status is very different. You can't understand my situation, nor can you understand my feelings. But there is one thing you have to understand. Some people are burden to me, but for you, they are a huge opportunity to change your destiny. If you can seize this opportunity, maybe one day in the future, you can be as rich as I am today. Or even richer than me." Although I was naive, I could still tell that Boss Lee was hinting to me that the boss's wife was now a burden to him, but for me, it was a huge opportunity to change my destiny. I can understand Mr. Lee's thinking. Boss Lee's outside business can now bring him a profit of 4 to 5 million every year. I heard that last month, Boss Lee met a big boss who introduced him to a big order. If he can get this big order, his company will be able to move up a level. Although the Luo family of the boss lady might decline, they were definitely not comparable to ordinary families. Even if the boss lady and the boss divorced, they could at least get a share of tens of millions of assets. For a poor country boy like me who only earns 5,000 yuan a month, it would be a great opportunity to reach high heaven overnight if I could date a woman worth tens of millions. If I am capable enough, with the financial resources and connections of the boss's wife, it is possible that I will become as rich as Boss Lee in the future. Although I got the hint from Mr. Lee, I still wanted to ask more clearly. But Mr. Lee took the initiative to change the subject and discuss today's weather with me. I knew that Boss Lee didn't want to say anything more, so I swallowed the words that were about to come out of my mouth. Since Boss Lee didn't have to go out this morning, I had nothing to do this morning. I spent the whole morning playing with my phone in the company. At noon, when I was about to go out to eat, I saw the proprietress coming in with a rice tube. The proprietress changed into a beige shirt, paired with a grey A-line skirt, and her hair was neatly tied up behind her head. When she saw me, the proprietress' pretty face suddenly blushed and she quietly hid the rice tube in her hand behind her back. I am no longer the naive boy I was a year ago. When I saw the lady boss hiding the rice bowl behind her back with 2 red clouds on her face, I immediately understood that the rice bowl probably contained something like sea cucumber, which is good for nourishing the kidneys. "Hello, Madam Boss." In order not to embarrass the boss lady, I said hello and went out. At this time, the proprietress called me. "Xiao Chen, wait a moment." I stopped in surprise. "Boss lady, do you have anything else to do?" The boss lady walked up to me and asked gently, "I remember you seemed to have a fever this morning. Did you go to the hospital?" I was immediately touched. I didn't expect that the boss lady still remembered that I was not feeling well in the morning. "It's okay, maybe just a cold, I'm fine now." The boss lady felt relieved after hearing what I said. "Okay, then go eat." I watched the boss's slightly plump and graceful figure walk away, and secretly sighed at the boss's good fortune. The boss, an ugly scumbag, actually found such a kind and beautiful wife in the boss's wife. Just as I was lamenting my boss's good fortune, a voice suddenly sounded in my heart. "The boss asked you to sleep with her." At that moment, I was so panicked that I ran out of the door as if I was escaping. I ate a bowl of noodles outside and wanted to go back to the company, but when I thought that the boss's wife might still be in the company, I hesitated. I wanted to see the boss's wife, but I was afraid that seeing her would give rise to evil thoughts in my heart. It's all Song Xiaodan's fault. If she hadn't told me about that, I wouldn't have had such dirty thoughts about the boss lady. I was blaming Song Xiaodan in my heart when I saw a familiar red BMW stop beside me. Song Xiaodan's charming face appeared in front of me again. Get in the car, I'll treat you to a meal. I stood there without moving. I've already eaten. Song Xiaodan smiled, and her smile was very happy and beautiful. Then I'll treat you to tea. I wanted to refuse, but when I saw Song Xiaodan's long legs in black stockings half exposed under her red skirt, I couldn't help but got in the car. Song Xiaodan took me to a tea house. After closing the door of the private room, Song Xiaodan came over immediately. A faint fragrance wafted into my nose. It smells very nice. Song Xiaodan's voice is charming and sweet, with a typical Jiangnan accent. How have you thought about what I told you yesterday? I immediately thought of the elegant appearance of the boss's wife when I met her in the morning. I'm sorry, I can't hurt the boss lady. As I said this, I was about to get up and leave. Song Xiaodan grabbed my hand. If you think so, you are totally wrong. Sister Xueqing is a sentimental person and she has a good impression of you. As long as you work hard, Boss Li and I will secretly create some opportunities for you. You will quickly gain Sister Xueqing's trust. When you two go to bed, Sister Xueqing's feelings will have found a new home. When the time comes, when her husband asks for a divorce, she won't be too sad. Don't you think so? I was moved by Song Xiaodan's twisted logic, but I still had concerns. How do I know you're not lying to me? I talked to Boss Li about this morning, and he didn't give me a direct answer. Song Xiaodan smiled. Little brother, you are still too naive. When Boss Li said that to you, and also said that the Luo family had encountered a lot of trouble recently, wasn't he hinting to you that this was his idea? I actually understood what Boss Li meant, but I'm still not sure. Now that I hear Song Xiaodan say this, I am finally sure that this was really instructed by Boss Li. Why would he do this to the boss lady? I lit a cigarette in annoyance. Although I had guessed what Boss Li meant by that this morning, I was still very angry when I heard it confirmed by Song Xiaodan. I feel sorry for the boss lady. Song Xiaodan patted my shoulder. This is the cruelty of reality. You just arrived in Chengdu, so your thoughts are relatively simple. When you see the hypocrisy and cruelty of reality, you will know that the only real thing in this world is interests. I smoked painfully, thinking about how the boss's wife looked in the morning. As I thought about it, I couldn't help but think of that night a year ago. That night, the proprietress was obviously frightened by my appearance, but she still bought me a bag of buns. When I thought of the proprietress's holy appearance under the moonlight that night, my mind suddenly became clear. No, I can't help you with this. Song Xiaodan was not in a hurry. In this case, I have to think of another way. I'm calling Sister Xueqing right now and asking her to go to my friend's newly opened beauty salon for a SPA this afternoon. 2 handsome male technicians recently came to their shop. Those male technicians are handsome, skilled, and caring. It is difficult for a noble lady like Sister Xueqing to resist the methods of those handsome men. Boss Li will be able to solve this problem in half a month at most. After saying that, Song Xiaodan called the boss's wife in front of me. Sister Xueqing, a friend of mine recently opened a beauty salon in the south of the city. If you have nothing to do this afternoon, I'll take you to show him some support. The proprietress's gentle voice sounded from the other side. No problem. I happen to be alone and have nothing to do this afternoon. Just send me the address and I'll be there in a minute. I didn't expect that the boss lady trusted Song Xiaodan so much and agreed to him so easily. I was immediately very anxious and wanted to grab the phone to tell the boss lady that Song Xiaodan was plotting against her, but Song Xiaodan had already hung up the phone. Song Xiaodan looked at me with a victorious smile on her face. How? I told you that I can handle this without you. Seeing that I looked unhappy, Song Xiaodan chuckled and sent me a video. Let me show you how the male technicians give those ladies SPA treatments. I clicked on the video and saw a beautiful lady with a voluptuous figure. She was very resistant at first, but eventually she was half-heartedly penetrated by the male technician under his sweet talk. Watching the plump and beautiful woman in the video, who went from resistance to intoxication under the attack of the male technician, I seemed to see the proprietress being successfully seduced by the male technician. I promise you. Chapter 5, Patience. Song Xiaodan's face lit up with joy and her tone became even gentler. That's right. Seeing my depressed look, Song Xiaodan knew that I always felt that doing this was hurting Sister Xueqing. Song Xiaodan gently patted my shoulder. Boss Li is right. He, Li Liangcai, is no longer the Li Liangcai of the past. Sister Xueqing and the Luo family are basically useless to him now. On the contrary, because Luo Xiaodong offended Mr. Qin from the provincial government compound, people in the circle dare not do business with him. If this continues, his company will go bankrupt within a year. At that time, he would return to the time before liberation overnight. If he divorced Sister Xueqing, his business could continue. However, this also has a hidden danger. Back then, Li Liangcai relied on the connections of the Luo family to build his family. If he filed for a divorce, even if Sister Xueqing didn't cry or make a fuss, others would think that he, Li Liangcai, was ungrateful. He will also be despised by people in the circle. Therefore, this is the only way to get a divorce. I said something to Song Xiaodan with some dissatisfaction. He, Li Liangcai, hired someone to seduce his wife, and then filed for divorce. Isn't this ungrateful? Seeing that I was very emotional, Song Xiaodan stood up and came behind me. I don't know whether it was intentional or not, but Song Xiaodan's chest gently pressed against my back. I immediately felt two soft things pressing down on me. At that second, my blood pressure suddenly rose and my attention was quickly diverted from my dissatisfaction with Li Liangcai. I know that Song Xiaodan deliberately used this method to divert my attention. But for a novice like me, her method is very effective. I know Song Xiaodan's intentions, but I still can't resist her method. Seeing that my emotions were quickly diverted, Song Xiaodan continued, Boss Li's behavior cannot be said to be ungrateful, but only to be realistic. After all, if he took their old relationship into consideration and continued to maintain his marriage with Sister Xueqing, his company would go bankrupt sooner or later. This is tantamount to mutual destruction. But now that he does it, it's different. If he divorced because of Sister Xueqing's infidelity, people in the circle would not exclude him for being ungrateful, nor would they cut off their business with him because of the Luo family. For you, you will also gain a lot. No matter how poor the Luo family is, it is not comparable to ordinary families, let alone a poor boy like you from the countryside. If you can marry Sister Xueqing, you can save 30 years of hard work. Sister Xueqing was able to find new love and found a young and handsome husband. This is good for everyone. Isn't he it? I couldn't refute Song Xiaodan, but I always felt that there was something wrong with what she said. After much thought, I finally discovered the problem with Song Xiaodan and Boss Li's rhetoric. They always treated love as business. But in my heart, feelings cannot be measured by money. I was about to open my mouth to refute Song Xiaodan, but I saw Song Xiaodan leaning close to my ear and whispering, in fact, Boss Li and Sister Xueqing haven't done that for a long time, and Sister Xueqing must be in need of it. If you don't fill it, Sister Xueqing will be filled by another man sooner or later. Do you want to see this ending? I immediately thought of the video Song Xiaodan sent me just now. The beautiful lady in the video, although she was very resistant to their male technician at first, was eventually conquered by him. Imagining that the proprietress was deceived by a wretched man with sweet words and finally penetrated by that man, I felt like my heart was being stabbed with a needle. No! I suddenly shouted almost nervously. A smile appeared on Song Xiaodan's foxy face again. I remembered that the boss lady had just promised Song Xiaodan that she would accompany her to visit her friend's newly opened beauty salon, and I suddenly became nervous. I promise you. But you have to cancel your appointment with the boss lady this afternoon. Song Xiaodan looked at me and the smile on her face became brighter. It seems that Li Liangcai was right. You really care about Sister Xueqing more than he does. Don't worry, I'll go to my friend's beauty salon later. I promise not to hire a male technician for her SPA. I'll only hire a female technician. Although I heard Song Xiaodan say this, I was still worried. No. Who knows whether what you said is true or not? Song Xiaodan looked at me. Well, since you don't believe me, I'll take you there later. Although men are not allowed to enter the women's SPA area of the beauty salon. But the owner of that shop is my friend, and I can ask her to arrange for you to hide in the cubicle next door and supervise the situation on site. That should be fine, right? Song Xiaodan's words were like a spark thrown into dry wood, which immediately ignited a fire in my heart. The image of the proprietress wearing gauze and lying on the small bed began to appear in my mind. The beautiful lady in the video I just saw has gradually become the boss lady in my mind, and the male technician who gave the beautiful lady SPA has gradually become me. Although my mind told me that it was inappropriate to go to a beauty salon and supervise the boss lady doing a SPA, I still nodded for some reason. When Song Xiaodan saw me nod, a hint of cunning flashed in her beautiful eyes, as if everything was within her calculations. Boss Lee said that you are a man who values friendship and loyalty. I didn't believe it before. Now it seems that Boss Lee's vision of people is better than mine. Song Xiaodan praised me seemingly casually. I felt a little guilty and blushed, and didn't dare to respond. I always felt that there was a hint of sarcasm in Song Xiaodan's words. Although I was looking forward to watching the boss lady doing the SPA, I also felt a little sorry for her. After all, she has been very kind to me since I met her. Just when I was struggling internally about whether or not to go, Song Xiaodan's voice rang in my ears again. Sister Xueqing and I have an appointment at 3 p.m. If you want to go on site to supervise, call your boss and ask for leave. Any later, and it will be difficult to arrange this matter. Song Xiaodan urged me to do this and I didn't have time to think about the guilt in my heart. I quickly called my boss to ask for leave. But as soon as I made the call, I immediately thought of a very serious problem. A voice sounded in my heart. You went to spy on his wife having a SPA session. Are you calling him to ask for leave now? If Li Liangcai finds out, have you ever thought about what the consequences will be? With Boss Li's ruthless methods, will he break your third leg? Thinking of this, sweat began to appear on my nervous forehead. When the call went through, although I tried my best to suppress my inner nervousness, my heart was still beating wildly. My boss Li Liangcai is a man who is very good at observing people's expressions, and I was worried that he could hear that I was nervous for my tone. If he found out that I was nervous, he would definitely become suspicious. At that time, Li Liangcai might just play a trick and get the truth out of me. I have been tricked by my boss many times before. I became even more nervous when I thought that my boss might try to find out the truth about why I asked for leave today. Just when I was about to succumb to the inner pressure and was ready to give up this opportunity to feast my eyes, the boss's voice came from the other side. Xiao Chen, what's wrong? Chapter 6: The Secret of the Beauty Salon. The moment the boss voice rang out, I was so nervous that I almost threw my phone away. Seeing that the boss had already answered the phone, I had no choice but to bite the bullet and said, "Boss, I feel a little uncomfortable this afternoon. I would like to take half a day off." Although I tried my best to stay calm, I could still feel that my voice was trembling. Hearing my own voice trembling, I couldn't help but say something silently in my heart. It's over. Li Liangcai is not only good at observing people's expressions, but also very suspicious. My voice was trembling when I spoke, and it would be abnormal if he didn't doubt me. At this moment, I started thinking about how to deal with the boss's subsequent questioning in order to dispel his suspicion. But Li Liangcai is far more scheming than I am, and I have no confidence in myself at all. Even when my palms were sweating from nervousness, the boss didn't ask a single question. Since you're not feeling well, Xiao Chen, go back and rest early. I don't need the car today anyway, so you can drive away. After saying that, the boss hung up the phone. Holding the phone, my palms were full of sweat. It took a full half-minute for my complexion to return to normal. Song Xiaodan saw how nervous I was and came over with a smile. Little brother, you can't do this. If you want to steal someone's wife, you have to be bold. Have you never read Jin Ping Mai? I suggest you read this book carefully and see how Shi Manqing stole someone else's wife. You can scare yourself like this just by calling to ask for leave. How can you succeed? My expression changed. Maybe in Song Xiaodan's mind, it's something worth showing off that we men can steal other people's wives. But for me, this is a shameful thing. If I didn't want to see the boss lady being harmed by Song Xiaodan and Li Liangcai and having her body taken away by those dirty male technicians, I would not have agreed to help them do this. Even though I really wanted the boss's wife, I didn't want her to get hurt or be the least bit unhappy. Seeing that I didn't look very good, Song Xiaodan thought that I was still worried about Chen Liangcai knowing about this. Song Xiaodan patted my shoulder. You don't have to worry. It was really Chen Liangcai who wanted you to sleep with his wife. He actually knew that you were going to go to the beauty salon with me to secretly watch his wife getting a SPA. Because he was the one who gave me this idea. He was pretending to be stupid just now to create an opportunity for you. Do you understand? When I heard Song Xiaodan say this, I was shocked again. I finally figured out why my boss, who is usually shrewd and suspicious, suddenly became so careless just now. After understanding the reason, I began to relax and look forward to secretly watching the boss lady doing SPA. Okay, let's go. Song Xiaodan took me to the south of the city, to a women's beauty salon called Aromatherapy House. This beauty salon is very big, with 3 floors. I took a quick look and found that each floor was at least thousands of square meters. The decoration was very high-end. As soon as I arrived at the door, I saw a sign at the door that said, "Gentlemen are not allowed to enter." A young girl in Cheongsam in the lobby saw me, immediately came up to me with a smile and stopped me at the door. "I'm sorry, sir. Our store is a women's beauty salon and does not accept men." Although the girl had a smile on her face, her tone was cold. Song Xiaodan didn't wait for the girl to finish her words and said to her, "Are you new here?" "I'm a friend of your manager Su, and I came to talk to your manager Su about something." When the girl heard that we were here to see their manager, her tone immediately became much more polite. "So you two are friends of our manager Su. Please follow me." Then the girl took us to an office. As soon as I entered the door, I saw a beautiful young woman with extraordinary charm sitting in the office. The woman was wearing a tight crimson skirt and had an oval face as white as cream, which made people want to touch her. Although this woman is not as pretty as the boss lady, her beauty is not inferior to Song Xiaodan. The woman was looking at some reports on the table. When she saw me and Song Xiaodan, she looked at me first. "Xiaodan, is this the new technician you introduced to me?" As the woman spoke, she stood up and walked in front of me, circling around me. I felt like she was looking at me as if I were an animal. "Not bad, he's got a solid body and a handsome look. They're high-end female customers here like male technicians like him." I was extremely embarrassed by this woman's gaze, and quickly said, "Manager Su, I'm not here to be a male technician." The woman looked surprised. "And who are you?" I'm even more embarrassed. Of course I couldn't tell anyone that I was spying on the boss lady doing SPA on the spot, even though I was doing it under the guise of supervision. Song Xiaodan glanced at the girl at the door. Manager Su understood immediately. "Xiaoyu, please go out first." Seeing the girl go out, Song Xiaodan hurriedly closed the door and then whispered a few words in Manager Su's ear. After listening to me, Manager Su looked at me with an ambiguous look. "I see. That's easy. I'll have someone take you to VIP room number 6 on the 3rd floor. There are 2 beds in VIP room number 6, and there's also a dark room inside where you can hide people." As he said this, Manager Su looked at me again. I was even more embarrassed by her gaze. But when I thought about watching the boss lady do SPA on the spot, I couldn't help but feel excited again. I don't know what the elegant and dignified proprietress looks like when she takes off all her clothes. Led by a girl, Song Xiaodan and I came to VIP room number 6 on the 3rd floor. This VIP room is very large, about 40 to 50 square meters, and the decoration is also very luxurious. The massage beds are all made of imported leather, and the ceiling lights are also very well designed, all shining on the roof and then reflecting soft light. The atmosphere in the room is warm and ambiguous, and people can't help but relax as soon as they enter the room. But this room didn't look like a darkroom at all, which made me wonder, could it be that Manager Su was deliberately playing a trick on me? Just when I was wondering, the girl walked to the corner of the VIP room, flipped open a poster on the wall, and pressed lightly on the wall. Then, the girl pushed the wall gently, and the wall suddenly turned into a sliding door. I didn't expect that there would be such a mechanism in this VIP room. I was stunned. The girl looked at me with a hint of sarcasm, but we were Manager Su's guests, so she didn't dare to offend us. After briefly explaining to us how to open and lock the darkroom from the inside, the girl turned and left. I felt annoyed by the girl's mocking look, but I had no way to explain it. As soon as the girl left, Song Xiaodan's cell phone rang. It was the boss's wife calling. "Xiaodan, where are you?" "I'm already at the aromatherapy shop." Chapter 7. I couldn't help it. When I heard the boss's wife say that she had arrived, I no longer had the heart to think about the girl's mocking look. I was so scared that I quickly hid in the dark room and closed the sliding false wall. Hiding in the dark room, my nervous mood slowly relaxed. It was then that I realized that although this dark room was not big, it had a small bed that was very clean, and all the items on the bed were exquisite and clean. On the small wooden box at the head of the bed, I also saw an ultra-thin advertisement for Durex. I couldn't help but be curious, so I gently opened the wooden box. Inside, I saw several boxes of Durex of different styles, with a line of small words next to them, free use. When I saw this box and these words, I immediately understood what this room was used for. This should be the place where the aromatherapy shop provides male technicians to serve some lonely female customers. After understanding the purpose of this room, I couldn't help but blush. Although I am already 24 years old, I am still a virgin and have never even held a girl's hand. As for the relationship between men and women, I have only learned some superficial knowledge from the small movies in the island country. After feeling shy, another question immediately occurred to me. Doesn't this aromatherapy shop not allow men to enter? I didn't see a single man in their shop. So where did those male technicians come from? I was just wondering when I heard the gentle and pleasant voice of the proprietress coming from outside. Xiaodan, you came so fast. When I heard the boss lady's voice, I became nervous again. I huddled in the corner and dared not move, for fear that the boss lady would hear what was going on inside. But just at this moment, my cell phone rang. Although the sound was not loud, I was still scared. If the boss lady found out that I was hiding here and was planning to peek at them doing SPA, I would never be able to face her again. Fortunately, the proprietress outside didn't seem to notice the sound of my phone and was still chatting with Song Xiaodan about family matters. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief, quickly turned my phone to silent mode, and then opened the message. The message was sent by Song Xiaodan. This dark room is soundproofed, but the sounds outside can be heard clearly inside. So, you don't have to worry. In addition, there is a secret peephole at the head of the bed in the dark room, through which you can see everything outside. We will do a SPA in a while, you are not allowed to peek. I hadn't figured out how to peek at it. Now that Song Xiaodan told me, it was like she was trying to cover up her crime, and she actually helped me find a way to peek. But I'm not stupid. Song Xiaodan is such a smart woman, it's impossible for her to do something that doesn't have any hidden purpose. She obviously pretended to accidentally reveal the method of peeking. Would you like to peek? I hesitated in my heart. In the end, desire triumphed over reason. Anyway, even if I peeked, they wouldn't know. It would be a waste if you don't take a look. After putting away my phone, I quickly found the peephole that Song Xiaodan mentioned at the head of the bed. I was suddenly excited and hurried over. Sure enough, everything in the room was in sight. The proprietress was wearing a white floral dress today, with her long wavy hair half draped over her shoulders. She looked simple and elegant yet charming. Although I often saw the boss's wife, I never dared to look at her too much, for fear of making her unhappy. But now I am hiding in the dark room and no longer have to worry about upsetting the boss lady. I can finally slowly appreciate the beautiful boss lady. Although the proprietress is in her early 30s, her figure and skin are well maintained, and are not inferior to those girls in their early 20s. Compared to those young girls, the proprietress has more charm of a mature woman, just like a ripe red apple, juicy and sweet. The more I watched, the faster my heart beat, but I can guarantee that at that moment I really had no evil thoughts in my mind. Just as I was enjoying admiring the proprietress, she and Song Xiaodan had already walked aside and prepared to change clothes. When I saw the proprietress getting ready to change her clothes, I could no longer remain calm. I felt like a huge rock was thrown into a calm lake and my mood suddenly became excited. Unfortunately, before taking off her clothes, the proprietress reached out and pulled the curtain, blocking my view. However, because the curtain is white, I can still see two curvaceous figures printed on it. I imagined the beautiful scenery behind the curtain in my mind, and suddenly I felt my blood pressure soar. Unfortunately, I didn't get to enjoy this beautiful view for long, as the proprietress and Song Xiaodan went to take a shower. I couldn't go anywhere at this time, so I could only wait silently for the boss's wife to come back after taking a shower. This kind of waiting is very painful. It's like a very hungry person who finally waits for the restaurant waiter to bring the meal, but suddenly the waiter takes it back. Although only 20 or 30 minutes had passed, I felt like it was a year, as if 20 or 30 years had passed. Just when I felt I couldn't bear it any longer and wanted to open the door to take a look, the proprietress's voice came from the bathroom door. Xiaodan, you should find a boyfriend. Then, I saw two beautiful figures appear at the door. The moment I saw the two of them, I suddenly felt a surge of blood rushing to my head. The proprietress and Song Xiaodan were each wrapped in a large white towel, exposing half of their bodies from the chest up completely in front of me. Although I have known the boss lady for more than a year, this is the first time I have seen her wearing so little. Although the proprietress was wrapped in a towel at this time, I could still see that the two mountains half exposed on her chest were as white as snow and as beautiful as jade. The boss lady didn't know I was peeking, and she was still chatting and laughing with Song Xiaodan as they lay down on their respective massage beds. The head of their bed was facing me. From where I was, I could see the deep white grooves under the towels of the two women. At this time, two female technicians came into the private room. I saw the boss lady turn over and then lie on the bed. A female technician walked up and slowly removed the towel off her body. As the female technician slowly removed the towel, I held my breath and my heart began to rise. When I saw the proprietress's fair back, like a jade sculpture, fully revealed, I breathed a sigh of relief. Perfect. This word flashed through my mind. Under the light, the proprietress's pink back was without a trace of fat, and her complexion was white and rosy. At this moment, my mind was almost blank. I just stared at the beautiful scenery in front of me, and my breathing became more and more rapid. If this dark room hadn't been well soundproofed, my big reaction would have definitely been noticed by the landlady. At this moment, I suddenly felt a pair of eyes staring at me. I quickly turned my head and found that Song Xiaodan was lying on another bed, her pair of almond-shaped eyes looking at me with a smile. My attention was immediately drawn to Song Xiaodan again. Song Xiaodan was also bare-backed at this time, and the towel had been pulled down to below her waist by the female technician, revealing her towering buttocks and slender curves. I couldn't help but compare Song Xiaodan with the proprietress. Chapter 8: The Unknown Side. Although the proprietress is 5 or 6 years older than Song Xiaodan is 2 points fuller than her and is a little plump. The boss lady's figure is more symmetrical, 1 point more would be fat, 1 point less would be thin. Although the boss lady's buttocks are not as big as Song Xiaodan's, they are more upturned and rounder in shape. According to my aesthetic taste, I still prefer the boss lady's figure. The two female technicians pulled down the towels, poured essential oil on the boss lady and Song Xiaodan, and began to massage their backs. The boss lady chatted with Song Xiaodan. Song Xiaodan took this opportunity to deliberately seduce the boss lady. "Sister, with your great figure, marrying my brother-in-law is like a flower stuck in cow dung." As Song Xiaodan spoke, she moved slightly towards the proprietress. "Sister, have you ever thought about finding a little puppy to play with? I heard it's very exciting." The proprietress's pretty face immediately turned red. "Xiaodan, what nonsense are you talking about? If your brother-in-law hears you, you will see how he will deal with you." I heard the boss lady's words in the dark room and couldn't help but complain in my heart. "Your husband has already taken care of her, and he did it with great passion. He just kept it a secret from you." The scene of Song Xiaodan sitting on her boss Li Liangcai and working hard in the underground garage yesterday emerged in my mind again. When I thought of the scene at that time, I felt a little bit unable to hold back. Coupled with the stimulation of the two half-naked beauties outside, the fire in my heart burned even more fiercely. But the boss's wife was outside, and I didn't dare to do anything rash, so I had to endure it. But the more I endured, the more the fire in my heart burned. As the fire burned more and more fiercely, a voice suddenly appeared in my heart. "You should take action now. You'd better sleep with the boss lady tonight." At the same time as this voice sounded, I saw the female massage therapist who was massaging the lady boss whispered, "Please turn around, I will continue to massage the front of your body." My heartbeat suddenly started to speed up again and my eyes were fixed on the proprietress. You know, the proprietress is topless now. If I turn around, I can see. Just by imagining it, I felt like I couldn't hold it any longer, and a certain part of my body was swelling violently. The proprietress blushed slightly, but still stood up and prepared to turn around. After all, the room was full of women, so there was no need to be too taboo. She didn't know that there was a man hiding in the dark room, secretly watching her. Just when I was about to see the entirety of the proprietress's chest, a towel was draped on the shelf in front of the peephole, directly covering everything in the room. This feeling is like watching a porn movie secretly in the middle of the night, and when you are at the crucial part, your phone suddenly runs out of battery and turns off. I was immediately filled with disappointment. But there's nothing I can do. You can't just run out and remove the towel blocking the cat's eye, right? If I did this, no matter how gentle and kind the boss lady was, she would chop me with a knife. It seems that I can only look for another opportunity next time. I thought silently in my heart. The next period of time was extremely difficult. Since there is a small speaker installed in this secret room, people sitting inside can clearly hear the sounds outside, but people outside cannot hear the sounds inside. Therefore, although I could no longer see everything in the room, I could still hear the voices of the 4 people outside. I could even hear the boss lady's slight panting. Judging from their voice, the proprietress seemed to be a little emotional at this moment. I guess the boss lady must be very charming when she is in a state of arousal, but I just can't see it. It felt like 10,000 ants crawling through my heart. But I had no choice but to secretly open the Japanese movie on my phone and turn off the sound. Watching the video on my phone and listening to the boss lady's light breathing, I imagined the actress in the video as the boss lady. As I watched, I finally couldn't control myself and started to secretly practice the Chilean arm. After venting my energy, I finally calmed down. In the darkroom, there are complete supplies of paper towels and trash cans. I packed up quickly, and then I heard the boss ladies panting outside. Their SPA was finished. Sister Shueching, do you feel comfortable after the SPA? Song Xiaodan's voice was somewhat charming. The proprietress blushed and hummed lightly, then the two of them wrapped in towels went to change clothes. At this time, I was sitting quietly in the dark room, and I was not ready to open the door until the two of them changed their clothes and went out. But at this moment, I received a message from Song Xiaodan on my mobile phone. Don't come out this way. There's an exit on the other side. Go out the other way. If Sister Shueching knew that you hid in the dark room and watched her having a SPA session, you would never be forgiven in your life. When I saw the news about Song Xiaodan, I was so scared that I quickly retracted my hand. I am not afraid of the boss lady beating me or scolding me, but if the boss lady ignores me for the rest of my life, I will really have no desire to live. When Song Xiaodan said there was another exit in this dark room, I quickly got up and started looking for it. I soon discovered that the wall opposite was also a fake wall like the one here. When I saw this exit, my initial doubts were instantly resolved. When I first came in, I was thinking that this dark room was clearly a place where the aromatherapy shop provided services of male technicians to some female customers, but I didn't see any men in the aromatherapy shop. So how did those male technicians get into the dark room and serve the female customers in the aromatherapy shop? Now I understand that the male technicians must have come in from another exit. After thinking about this, I couldn't help but admire the owner of the aromatherapy shop. Such a hidden design would not affect the reputation of the female customers, and there was no need to worry about being reported. But I'm very curious about where this other exit is. I opened another exit and there was a long corridor outside. After closing the exit door, I discovered that this door was also a wall of the corridor. If I didn't know the inside story, I would never have realized that this corridor wall had a different secret. But now that I know the ins and outs of this, I can quickly see that there are many such secret doors on both sides of this long corridor. In other words, behind this long corridor, there are actually dark rooms like the one just shown, which are specially designed to provide male technician services for high-end women. After realizing this, I immediately realized that this aromatherapy shop is not as simple as it seems. I walked along the corridor and saw a gym at the end of the corridor. Walk through the gym to the street outside. Just as I was about to leave, I suddenly remembered that the boss lady and Song Xiaodan might not have left yet. I couldn't go out at this time. Even though the boss lady saw me here, it was no big deal. She would never have thought that I had just hidden in the dark room of the aromatherapy shop and had seen almost everything about her. But I still feel guilty. So I decided to find a place to sit and wait for an hour or two before going out. I found a corner by the window and sat down. Just as I was about to light a cigarette, I heard a woman's extremely charming voice coming from the wall next to me. Shijie, please use more force. My husband has been at home recently, so I only have the opportunity to come to the aromatherapy shop today. Chapter 9, Saving Face. When I heard this, I immediately understood what was going on. It is obvious that in the dark room inside the wall, there should be a pair of wild mandarin ducks doing business. I was just curious, how could I hear a sound in these dark rooms, which are usually well soundproofed? So I looked carefully and saw a small crack in the corner of the wall. Although I knew that there was a pair of mandarin ducks doing something inside the wall, I had just released my passion in the dark room with the fifth girl, so my heart was calm at this moment. I was just about to take out my phone to play a few games when I heard the woman's voice again. A little deeper, I'm almost there. I didn't hear their voice clearly, but this time, the woman's voice was louder. I finally recognized that their voice seemed familiar. I searched my memory and quickly associated this voice with a slightly plump, elegant middle-aged woman. I have seen this woman several times. She knows our boss and his wife. I remember their wife called her Sister Shu. I heard she was the director of the Municipal Health Bureau. Since her family had a new house in the south of the city, which was decorated by my boss Li Liangcai, I had an impression of her. I remember that her husband seemed to be the boss of a company and often traveled on business. I have seen this woman several times. She looks very ladylike. I never thought she would come to such a place to vent her feelings with a male technician. And she is so relaxed in front of the male technician. Sister Shu's reserved and elegant image instantly collapsed in my mind. At this moment, I suddenly thought, since the ladylike Shu has such a huge difference between her appearance and inner self, then, would the boss lady, who also has a ladylike temperament, be the same as her in her heart? This thought just flashed through my mind for a moment, and I immediately rejected it. I simply cannot believe that my noble and elegant goddess could be as dissolute as Sister Shu at heart. Just when I was about to find another place to smoke, Sister Shu's dissatisfied voice came again. Is that it? Why are you so fast today? A young man's slightly ashamed voice came. I'm sorry, Sister Shu. I just forgot to take my medicine. Otherwise, I'll go take it now. Wait a minute, I'll do it again for you. Sister Shu's angry voice rang out. Get out of here. There was silence in the dark room for a few seconds, and then the sound of someone getting dressed could be heard. Sitting by the window, I took a long puff of my cigarette, feeling deeply moved. I wasn't feeling sad because this seemingly ladylike Shu would go to a place like this to vent her feelings with a male technician. I was feeling sad because of that man. After hearing the man's voice just now, I recognized his identity. He is the son of our village chief, Feng Shijie. Feng Shijie and I were of the same age. We were classmates in elementary school and junior high school. When we were in school, his grades were always much worse than mine. But because my grandfather was ill, I did not go to high school, while Feng Shijie finally got into a second-tier university. His father was very happy at that time and even set up more than 10 tables of wine in the village. Last year, Feng Shijie graduated from university and said he was working in an internet company in the provincial capital, earning 20,000 yuan a month. His father, the village chief, boasted about me in the village and compared me with his son whenever he met someone, saying that I didn't even finish high school and would have to dig dirt in the village for the rest of my life. I never imagined that Feng Shijie, who worked in the provincial capital for 20,000 yuan a month, was actually working as a male technician selling his body in a place like an aromatherapy shop. But this was not the most embarrassing thing. The most embarrassing thing was that he did not even last 5 minutes, which made the customers very dissatisfied with him. I admit that I felt a little gloating at this moment. But it's really not my fault. Feng Shijie and his son were both mean people who liked to ridicule people who were worse off than they were. His village chief was not only mean, but also very bad. I have been learning Chinese medicine from my grandfather since I was young, and I have a natural talent for it. Therefore, after my grandfather fell ill, I took over and continued to treat the villagers in several surrounding villages. The villagers around me also trusted me very much. When I was 20 years old, my medical skills had surpassed my grandfather's, and I began to gain some fame among the people around me. But in the same year, the village chief's brother-in-law also opened a clinic in the village. The next day, the village chief brought people to take down the sign of our clinic and said that I did not have a medical license and could no longer treat patients. If I dare to see a doctor secretly again, I will be arrested and put in jail. After losing my clinic business, I could only make a living by farming. But my family has been practicing medicine for generations, and although we have land in the village, I really know nothing about farming. After a few years, I became so poor that I could hardly afford even a pair of pants. I had no choice but to come to the provincial capital to work immediately after my grandfather passed away. The village chief almost drove me into a dead end because of his relative's clinic business. Now, seeing that his son Feng Shijie, after graduating from university, is actually doing such shameful things, and has even made himself weak, it would be hypocritical for me to say that I'm not happy. At this moment, I even wanted to tell this to a few villagers who were working in the provincial capital. Let this bad village chief embarrass himself. But in the end I held back. As the saying goes, it is better to resolve a feud than to create one. Although my grandfather has passed away, I still have many relatives in the village. I also don't want others to say that I'm a mean person in front of my relatives. After all, I still care a lot about what the villagers think of me. Of course, what I care about most is not what they say about me, but the reputation of our Chen family. Our Chen family has always been a family that has passed down medicine and martial arts in the village. I can't let the reputation built by my grandfather and great-grandfather be destroyed in my hands. Just as I was daydreaming, the door of the darkroom was pushed open, and a young man in technician clothes hurried out of the darkroom. The man probably felt too embarrassed and didn't even dare to look at me next to him. He lowered his head and ran away quickly. But I still recognized him at a glance. He was the village chief's only son, Feng Shijie. Seeing Feng Shijie walking away, I smoked 2 more cigarettes and played a few games. After more than an hour had passed and the sun had set outside the window, I got up and left. As soon as I walked out of the gym, I was bumped by a man coming towards me. The man was about to start scolding when he recognized me. "Chen Lin, why is it you?" As soon as he spoke, I immediately recognized that the person who bumped into me was Feng Shijie, and I smiled at him. "I am accompanying our boss to come over here to do some work." "You work around here?" I just asked casually, but Feng Shijie denied it quickly out of guilt. "Of course not. I work in the South City high-tech zone. I just feel that I haven't exercised enough recently, so I got a membership card at this gym. As you know, we who work in internet companies sit in offices all day long. If you don't exercise, you really can't do it." Feng Shijie felt a little guilty at first, but he completely relaxed towards the end, as if what he was telling was true. Chapter 10. The wine of the female demon is not tasty. I did not expose Feng Shijie. Anyway, I have no plans to have any dealings with Feng Shijie anymore, so there is no need for me to care whether he is lying or not. Okay, then go ahead and get busy. I should also go pick up our boss. Having said that, I turned around and prepared to leave. I had just taken 2 steps out when Feng Shijie's harsh voice sounded behind me. "Humph, a poor driver who drives for others is pretending to be so shameless." At this moment, I really wanted to go back and give him a hard time. I drive for other people, at least I earn money standing upright. It's better than someone like you who makes money by kneeling down and licking women, right? But I finally held back. I am driving for someone else, and that is a fact. There is no need to be angry. And how they make money is none of my business. After all, we are all from the same village. If the relationship becomes too strained, given the tempers of the Feng family father and son, they will definitely fabricate bad things about me and ruin my reputation in the village. Although I have been an orphan since I was a child and have been dependent on my grandfather, I still have 2 aunts in the village. I don't want my 2 aunts to hear the bad things the village chief and his son say about me and worry about me. So I quietly drove away in my boss's Mercedes-Benz E300. Not long after I left, I received a call from Song Xiaodan. "Where is it?" When I saw Song Xiaodan calling me, I knew that she must have broken up with the boss's wife. Just came out and was about to go back to the company. Song Xiaodan sent me a location. "Don't leave yet, I'll buy you a drink." I looked at the time and it was already past 6 in the afternoon. To be honest, I was quite moved when Song Xiaodan offered to drink with me. After all, I had never eaten alone with such a beautiful girl before, let alone a girl as beautiful and rich as Song Xiaodan. I know that Song Xiaodan will never be interested in me. I have no interest in a girl like her who only cares about money. But it was still very relaxing to look at her long legs in black stockings. At least it made me forget Feng Shijie's contentious look towards me for a while. But I don't know if the boss has anything to do tonight. Song Xiaodan immediately gave me a reassurance. "Don't worry. I promise your boss won't come looking for you tonight." When I heard Song Xiaodan say this, I became confused. "Why? What makes you so sure?" Song Xiaodan chuckled. "Your boss is going to meet his little lover tonight, so why would he come to you? Your boss is not stupid, isn't he afraid that you will know this and tell your boss's wife?" When I heard what Song Xiaodan said, I was surprised and felt sad for the boss lady. I originally thought that the boss just had an affair with Song Xiaodan occasionally. If that was all, I would not think the boss was such a scumbag. But I did not expect that the boss not only cheated with Song Xiaodan, but also kept another woman outside. "How do you know so much? Who is that woman?" Although I have decided to help my boss and seduce his wife into bed, I still want to get this matter clear. I helped my boss seduce his wife into bed because I thought it would appease her and I was just considering her best interests. But this matter may hurt the boss lady again, so I naturally have to ask clearly. Song Xiaodan told me yesterday that the boss wanted to divorce his wife, which was a completely rational move. The boss also promised her that he would leave most of his assets to his wife. But now I heard that the boss was keeping another woman outside. I vaguely realized that what the boss said was not very credible. If the boss is still keeping another woman outside, then his divorce this time is definitely not entirely because the Luo family is in trouble. So, I have to help the boss lady find out about this matter. I can help the boss and facilitate his divorce from his wife, but I must never let his wife fall into the boss's trap. Song Xiaodan was not surprised to see me asking about that woman. You want to know about that woman? No problem, as long as you can drink with me tonight, I will tell you everything you want to know. When I heard Song Xiaodan say this, I stopped hesitating and drove to the hotel immediately. The restaurant Song Xiaodan chose was a bit off the beaten track, on an old street. The street was a bit messy, with several bars and a complicated crowd. However, this restaurant has a great environment and not many people. When I arrived, Song Xiaodan was already sitting in the private room waiting for me. Seeing me come in, Song Xiaodan looked at me with a half smile. Her smile obviously had a deeper meaning. As soon as I saw her looking at me like that, I immediately felt guilty. After all, I had seen almost everything about her and the boss's wife in the dark room of the beauty salon just now. Although I was doing this in the name of supervision, we were all adults, and this high-sounding reason was obviously just a cover. I couldn't be that honest. I deliberately sat down opposite Song Xiaodan. But Song Xiaodan immediately stood up and sat down next to me, and deliberately got closer to me. I can clearly smell the fragrance of Song Xiaodan. What do you want to eat? Even if you want to eat me today, I will satisfy you. Song Xiaodan's voice was so charming that I was so scared that I didn't even dare to look at her. My mind was full of the image of her and the boss's wife, topless and lying on the massage bed. Although I only saw her back through the cat's eye, it was a great stimulation for me, a novice who had never even held a girl's hand. Now Song Xiaodan sat down next to me, her smooth legs pressed against me, which made my body react immediately. I didn't want Song Xiaodan to see that a part of my body had already started to salute her, so I quickly shouted outside. Waiter, take your order. Song Xiaodan's right hand had been placed on my leg. When she saw the waiter coming in, she immediately retracted her hand, pretended to be serious, and sat up straight. It has to be said that Song Xiaodan is indeed a fairy who can be pure and coquettish. At this moment, she sat up straight, put her two flesh-colored long legs together, and suddenly turned into a lady. Seeing Song Xiaodan like this, I couldn't help but think of Sister Shu, who was in the dark room of the aromatherapy shop just now. Although Sister Shu is not as pretty as the boss lady and Song Xiaodan, she is definitely a beauty. Although Sister Shu is already 35 or 36, she takes good care of herself and looks only about 27 or 28. Moreover, Sister Shu dresses with great temperament, which makes people feel that she is a dignified lady. But who would have thought that such a dignified lady would urge a male technician to go deeper in the dark room of an aromatherapy shop? Although I didn't see Sister Shu's appearance at that time, I could imagine how charming Sister Shu looked. Thinking of the huge contrast between Sister Shu's behavior in front of and behind people, I can't help but think of the proprietress who has the same temperament as Sister Shu. Although the proprietress has a similar temperament to Sister Shu, she is younger, prettier, and has a more well-proportioned figure than Sister Shu. At this moment, I suddenly wanted to know, would the boss's wife be as charming as Sister Shu when having sex with the boss? As I thought about it, my heart couldn't help but feel hot. Chapter 11, The excitement is real. Just as I was lost in thought, I suddenly felt someone staring at me. I quickly turned around and saw that the waiter had left and Song Xiaodan was staring at me sharply. What are you thinking about? You're thinking so much that you can't even hear me talking to you. My face turned red. No, I'm not thinking about anything. Did you call me just now? Song Xiaodan chuckled, glanced outside the door, then leaned over to my ear and whispered, You peeked just now, didn't you? Are you still savoring the beautiful body of your boss's wife? Song Xiaodan exposed my mistake and I quickly denied it. Of course not. I will never admit to this kind of thing even if you kill me. Song Xiaodan moved closer, and I could almost hear her slight breathing. You really don't miss your boss's wife's body. The more I was questioned, the more guilty I felt, but I pretended to be upright and not afraid of being criticized. Of course not. I went to the aromatherapy shop with you because I was afraid that you would do something bad to our boss lady and deliberately find a male technician for her. I didn't go there to spy on you. Although I did peek, I could never admit it in front of Song Xiaodan. Otherwise, she would use this as an excuse to force me to tell the boss lady, and I would have to obey her orders in everything from then on. Although Song Xiaodan is not yet 30, she is as cunning as our boss. I dare not be careless with her, nor do I dare to let her have any handle on me. Song Xiaodan saw through my guilty conscience at a glance, but she didn't expose me. I didn't expect you to be such a gentleman who can remain calm even when a woman's wooing you. I immediately raised my chin. Of course. Song Xiaodan suddenly grabbed me. In that case, what's going on here? I didn't expect Song Xiaodan to be so bold. When Song Xiaodan discovered my embarrassing reaction, I couldn't help but blush and quickly sat further away from her. Why are you like this? Can't you learn from our boss lady and be more ladylike? No wonder you still don't have a boyfriend. I hit her on purpose. Who knew that Song Xiaodan didn't care at all? Instead, she showed a charming smile and came closer to me again. I can't help it. This is my personality. I will never be able to be as ladylike as Sister Xueqing in my lifetime. It would be best if a man likes me. If no man wants me, I will live alone for the rest of my life. These days, as long as I have money, I don't need a man. When Song Xiaodan said this, she took out a lady's cigarette and lit it, her voice getting lower and lower. Once I've boarded Li Liancai's pirate ship, there's no turning back. Song Xiaodan looked relaxed at first, but as she spoke later, her tone became a little angry and her expression began to become lonely. I originally wanted to ridicule her, but when I saw her look like this, I felt a little soft-hearted. Although I was very dissatisfied with Song Xiaodan for seducing the boss and destroying the boss's wife's happy family, but from her last words, it seemed that there was something else going on between her and the boss Li Liancai. I couldn't help but move closer to her. What's going on between you and our boss? Since you are good friends with our boss's wife and you secretly slept with her husband, don't you feel sorry for the boss's wife? Song Xiaodan glanced at me, slowly put out the half-smoked cigarette in her hand, and then said leisurely, actually, my original purpose of approaching Sister Xueqing was just to tell her that I had slept with her husband. Her husband is not a good person. I looked at Song Xiaodan with vigilance in my eyes. Are you trying to use this method to force the boss's wife to divorce our boss? Although I was attracted to the boss's wife, I didn't want to hurt her. I am also wary of anyone who harbors ill will towards the boss lady. For the sake of his career, the boss obviously no longer cares about the boss's wife's feelings. I must not let anyone hurt the boss's wife again. Song Xiaodan showed a self-deprecating smile on his face. If I tell you that my virginity was taken away by Li Liancai when I was drunk, would you believe it? I was stunned for a moment. Although I know that the boss is not honest, he often hangs out in clubs when he is out discussing business. But I still don't quite believe that he would take advantage of Song Xiaodan's drunkenness and force her to have sex with him. I think Li Liancai is a smart man, he should know that it is very dangerous to do so. If Song Xiaodan sues him for rape, he might go to jail. I think that for a mature man worth tens of millions, almost no one would take such a risk. Song Xiaodan guessed what I was thinking by looking at my expression. I knew you wouldn't believe it. Li Liancai grasped the mentality of most people and thought that even if I sued him, no one would believe me. That's why he dared to attack me. Song Xiaodan said, taking a puff of her cigarette irritably, then threw the cigarette butt on the ground and trampled it hard with her pointed high heels. It seemed that what she was trampling under her feet was not the cigarette butt, but our boss Li Liancai. Let's not talk about this anymore. It's been 2 or 3 years since this happened, and no one would believe it if I told them about it. Anyway, I have already become a bad woman, and if I tell others, they will only think that I am trying to blackmail Li Liancai for money. This was the first thought that came to my mind after I heard what Song Xiaodan said just now. If the boss lady told me this, I would definitely believe it. But Song Xiaodan is such an open person, and when she told me that my boss raped her while she was drunk, I just couldn't believe it. This is probably due to preconceived ideas. But seeing Song Xiaodan like this, I felt that I might have really misunderstood her. Maybe she was raped by Li Liancai, so she started to give up on herself and ended up like this. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but feel a little sympathy for Song Xiaodan. But just as I felt a little sympathy for Song Xiaodan, I suddenly felt a hand touching my leg. I quickly turned around to look at Song Xiaodan. The loneliness on Song Xiaodan's pretty face was gone, and her phoenix eyes were full of alluring charm. Seeing her like this, the little sympathy I had for her disappeared instantly, and I no longer believed what she had just said. I felt that her hand was trying to reach into my pants, so I quickly grabbed her evil hand. Two waitresses have already come outside with a cart, ready to serve the food. If they find out, I will be so embarrassed. When I saw Song Xiaodan looking at me with a smirk on her face, I knew she was deliberately trying to make me look bad. Just as I was about to push Song Xiaodan's hand away, a waitress came in with a tray. "Sir, could you please pick it up for me?" I suddenly became nervous and my whole body tensed up. Although I was wearing pants, this stimulation still made me react strongly. If the waitress saw this, she would definitely call me a hooligan. Fortunately, Song Xiaodan finally let go and took his hand back. I quickly stood up and pretended to bow to take the dish handed to me by the waitress, trying my best to hide my embarrassment. Chapter 12 Beauty, you are drunk. Because the table was quite high and I was intentionally bending over, the waiter didn't notice anything unusual about me. Seeing the waiter finally turned around and left, I immediately leaned over to Song Xiaodan's ear. "Are you crazy?" Song Xiaodan looked at me with a smile. "Is it exciting?" As she said that, Song Xiaodan suddenly grabbed my hand and pressed it on her thigh again. Song Xiaodan is wearing a white short Korean-style skirt today, with white stockings wrapped around her two slender white legs. Although Song Xiaodan is not very tall, she is 1.65 meters tall. I didn't have the chance to see her legs when she was doing the SPA just now. Now that she was pressing on her legs like this, I realized that her legs were actually very well proportioned. Song Xiaodan's legs are not the type that are particularly slender, but are healthier and more symmetrical. Her thighs are not thick, but they are not skinny either, and they feel soft and smooth. My heart was suddenly lifted up and my blood pressure couldn't be controlled and started to rise sharply. This was the first time I had touched a girl's thigh like this in my life, and in such a public place. How could I not be excited? Although we were sitting near the door and didn't have to worry about being seen by people outside, the noisy voices still made me nervous and my adrenaline surged. Song Xiaodan took my hand and slowly moved it along her thigh into her hip skirt. My brain was completely unable to think at this point, let alone refuse. For me, this part of a woman is a mysterious area that I have never touched. Although I have seen it in movies, I have never touched it myself. Just when my hand touched the base of Song Xiaodan's stockings and I was looking forward to going further, Song Xiaodan suddenly pulled my hand out. "Let's stop here for today." I was so angry that my teeth were itching, but I couldn't do anything about Song Xiaodan. Song Xiaodan glanced at me charmingly, with a hint of pride in her smile. "What, you're still not satisfied? I remember someone just said that he was a gentleman. How come he suddenly turned into a greedy pervert?" Song Xiaodan kept me in suspense and ridiculed me, which made me very upset, but I had no way to deal with her. If it was at home, I would have pushed her down by now. Even if I don't dare to do it for real, I will still make her wet. But this is a restaurant, no matter how angry I am, I dare not do anything to her. "Just wait for me." Seeing that I started to eat angrily and ignored her, Song Xiaodan came over to me again. "I heard from your boss lady that you've never even touched a girl's hand before. Is that true?" I glared at Song Xiaodan and ignored her. Seeing that I ignored her, Song Xiaodan moved closer to me. "Oh, my chest suddenly hurts a little. Can you help me see what's going on? Weren't you a doctor in the village before?" When I heard Song Xiaodan say this, I turned around and looked at her chest. When I saw this, I suddenly felt a surge of blood rushing to my head. Song Xiaodan was wearing a red camisole with a sweater jacket on top, so she was not afraid of exposing herself. But she unbuttoned the sweater jacket and quietly took off the cover. I am half a head taller than Song Xiaodan, so when I lowered my head, I could just see her two towering peaches. "Would you like to touch it?" Song Xiaodan's voice is soft and seductive. I couldn't help but reach out my hand. Song Xiaodan suddenly pulled her sweater up to cover her chest. "I was just kidding you. You really did it." I was so angry that I didn't even want to eat and just wanted to leave. But Song Xiaodan immediately pulled me back. "Don't go. I was just joking with you. Why are you so angry? You want to know about Li Lianxai's little lover? As long as you drink with me, I will tell you everything about them. How? I sat down again after listening to Song Xiaodan talking about the boss and his mistress. This matter concerns the boss lady, I must help her find out the truth. This time, Song Xiaodan didn't tease me anymore. Instead, she poured 2 glasses of red wine and clinked glasses with me. While drinking, Song Xiaodan started talking to me about her time in college. Only then did I know that Song Xiaodan had a boyfriend when she was in college, but later she was taken advantage of by Li Lianxai and the two broke up. When Song Xiaodan talked about this, he was obviously in a bad mood and drank more. I can't persuade him no matter how hard I try. Seeing that Song Xiaodan had already drunk 2 bottles of red wine and was about to open the 3rd bottle, I quickly stopped her. Judging from her appearance, she was obviously drunk. That's all for today. Where do you live? I'll take you back. Although I really wanted to know about the boss's mistress, seeing that Song Xiaodan was so drunk that she was staggering from side to side, I couldn't ask any more questions. But Song Xiaodan pushed me away. Go away, I don't need your concern. I know you all like Sister Xueqing. In your hearts, I am just a shameless bitch. When Song Xiaodan said this, tears fell. I didn't expect that Song Xiaodan would get drunk and go crazy, and even curse himself so harshly. I didn't want to make fun of us in the restaurant, so I quickly took out her phone to pay the bill, and then tried to help her out. But Song Xiaodan pushed me away. I'm not drunk, I don't need your help. You men are all the same. You only want to take advantage of me and try to trick me into bed when I'm drunk. Don't you think I don't know? Song Xiaodan pushed me and I hit the corner of the table behind me, and my back was in excruciating pain. I was also a little angry, so I simply ignored her and sat in the boss's car and lit a cigarette. Song Xiaodan pushed me away and staggered to the side of the road. She didn't drive here because she knew she was going to drink today. But before Song Xiaodan reached the roadside, she was stopped by 2 young men. Beauty, have you been drinking? You can't drive after drinking. Where do you live? I'll take you back. Song Xiaodan's outfit tonight was a bit bold. A red tank top was paired with a sweater under a white half-length skirt, her 2 long legs were wrapped in flesh-colored stockings and were flawless. Song Xiaodan is beautiful to begin with, and with her seductive outfit, men can hardly walk when they see her. Although Song Xiaodan was already drunk, her instinctive sense of crisis was still there. Seeing the 2 men trying to pull her away, Song Xiaodan pushed them away. Go away. I don't need you to send me off. The 2 men were hooligans in the area, and they often looked for drunk women in the area and took them to their hotel to play. Seeing that Song Xiaodan was beautiful and drunk, they naturally couldn't give up so easily. Beauty, we are doing this for your own good. You are so drunk, you won't be able to go home if we don't help you. As they were talking, the man with earrings had already grabbed Song Xiaodan's wrist. Chapter 13, Beautiful Women Easily Bring Disaster. Song Xiaodan struggled hard but couldn't break free. Song Xiaodan was finally sobered up by the fright. Let me go. Song Xiaodan shouted. Instead of letting go, the 2 men pulled Song Xiaodan into a black business car nearby. Don't be afraid, Beauty. We are all good people. I will take you home now. Song Xiaodan was not a young girl without social experience, so she naturally could not believe what the 2 men said, and immediately struggled hard again. Let me go now. Otherwise, I will shout for help. The 2 men ignored Song Xiaodan's shouting and instead quickly pulled her and tried to put her into the business car on the side of the road. Song Xiaodan was really panicked this time. Chen Lin, save me. I had already finished smoking and was about to call a designated driver to drive me back to the rental house. When I heard Song Xiaodan scream, I realized that Song Xiaodan was being harassed by 2 thugs. I rushed over quickly. Just as I rushed to the black business car, 2 men in black suddenly got out of the car. One of the men was holding a dagger that was shining coldly. When Song Xiaodan saw that the other party had a knife, he turned pale with fright. The man with the knife looked at me with a sarcastic look on his face. Boy, I advise you to mind your own business. People who like to meddle in other people's affairs usually don't live long. Do you understand? As he spoke, the man with the knife took 2 steps towards me, deliberately shaking the dagger in his hand. I quickly stepped back, putting a few steps between myself and the man. The man holding the knife had a sarcastic smile on his face. You're a smart kid. The two men who were pulling Song Xiaodan saw me retreating in fear and continued to pull Song Xiaodan into the car. It was already late at night, and the road was remote, so there were few people around. Seeing that these people had knives, no one dared to come up and meddle. When Song Xiaodan saw me retreat, a look of despair appeared on his face. Those men looked very proud. Boy, since you don't have the guts to meddle in other people's business, just get out of here. The man with the knife said this and turned to get in the car. Just as the man turned around, I suddenly rushed forward, grabbed his right hand, and then chopped his wrist with a knife. The man let out a scream, the dagger in his hand already in my hand. I stepped back just now not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to use this method to make this man relax his guard so that I could take action. Although I learned Yang-style Tai Chi from my grandfather when I was young, my grandfather taught me to practice Tai Chi for physical fitness, not for fighting with others. I rarely fight with others, so I have little practical experience. It was a one-on-four situation, so I naturally didn't dare to be careless. I breathed a sigh of relief after taking the other person's knife. When the remaining three saw that I had injured their leader, they left Song Xiaodan behind, took out iron bars from the car and rushed towards me. Song Xiaodan's face changed again with fright. Chen Lin, run. I didn't run. Because I know that if I run away, something bad will happen to Song Xiaodan tonight. Although I don't like Song Xiaodan's openness, I am a man after all, and I can't just watch her get into trouble and do nothing. Seeing three people rushing towards me with iron rods in hand, I suppressed my panic and used the Tai Chi moves that my grandfather taught me. Although these three men look fierce, their fighting skills are actually average. I was inexperienced at first and was hit on the back, but I quickly regained my balance and started fighting back. In just 3 minutes, I knocked down 3 people, and 2 of them had their arms broken. When the 4 thugs saw how good I was at fighting, they were frightened. They dropped their iron bars and drove away. When Song Xiaodan saw me beat away 4 thugs, her eyes gradually lit up as she looked at me. I don't know if Song Xiaodan is attracted to me. But for most girls, a hero saving a beautiful girl is the best way to move their hearts. When I saw the 4 thugs running away, I came to Song Xiaodan and helped her up from the ground. Are you okay? Song Xiaodan looked up at me, and suddenly seemed to remember something. She quickly pulled up her shirt to cover her half-exposed shoulders, and 2 blushes rose on her face. Fine. Thank you. When Song Xiaodan spoke, her eyes flickered a little and she didn't dare to look me in the eye. I was confused to see Song Xiaodan, who had always been very bold with me, suddenly become shy. I couldn't understand why she suddenly changed. Sister Song, are you really okay? Song Xiaodan looked up at me for 2 seconds, then lowered her head with a red face. It's okay, I'm going home first. Having said that, Song Xiaodan turned and left. I don't understand why Song Xiaodan suddenly became indifferent to me. Just now in the restaurant, she looked like she wanted to eat me. Although Song Xiaodan is sober now, I still don't feel comfortable letting her go home alone after what happened just now. But she obviously didn't want me to take her home just now. So I followed Song Xiaodan from a distance, worried that something might happen to her. Song Xiaodan walked a few hundred meters away, then suddenly squatted down and sobbed softly. Song Xiaodan, you are already an unclean woman. You are not worthy of him at all. You can't tease him anymore. I saw Song Xiaodan suddenly squatting on the side of the road sobbing, and hurriedly walked over. What's wrong, Sister Song? Why are you squatting here crying? Song Xiaodan didn't expect that I hadn't left yet. Seeing me, Song Xiaodan seemed to be in a better mood. Wiping away the tears from the corners of her eyes, Song Xiaodan smiled at me. Nothing, I just drank too much and suddenly became sentimental. Although I heard Song Xiaodan talking to herself just now, I didn't know who she was talking about. Seeing that Song Xiaodan didn't seem to want me to know, I didn't ask any more questions. Sister Song, I think I should take you home. Song Xiaodan did not refuse again. I took out my cell phone and called a designated driver, and took Song Xiaodan home in my boss's car. The community where Song Xiaodan lives is called Danfenjuan, which is a demolished community in Chengdu. When we arrived downstairs of the apartment building, Song Xiaodan seemed to have regained some consciousness and began to explain things to me. I live in this house that I share with a good sister. My sister has misophonia, so you can just drop me off at home and then go back. Otherwise she'll dislike you. I originally saw that Song Xiaodan drove a BMW SUV worth more than 300,000 yuan and had a relationship with our boss Li Liangcai, so I thought she should be relatively wealthy. I didn't expect that she was sharing a house with someone in a demolished community with a poor environment. After Song Xiaodan said these two sentences, she lay on me and went to sleep again. I quickly asked, "What's the name of your roommate?" "Qianlan." Song Xiaodan muttered something and fell asleep on me again. Seeing Song Xiaodan in this state, I had no choice but to carry her on my back. Song Xiaodan's body was very soft, especially the two big peaches on her chest, which pressed on my body so hard that it started to react. However, thinking that there was a strange girl in the room, I took a few deep breaths to restore my body to normal, and then I dared to go forward and knock on the door. If I go knocking on the door with a tent on my head, I'm afraid people will think I'm a pervert and beat me up. Chapter 14, Let Me Stay Overnight. The person who opened the door for me was a girl wearing glasses. The girl looked a year or two younger than Song Xiaodan, only about 26 or 27 years old. She was slightly taller than Song Xiaodan, about 1.7 meters tall, and was wearing a white floral pajamas, so her figure could not be seen. She wore a pair of large black rimmed glasses on her round face and her hair was casually tied behind her head. Although the girl was not wearing any makeup, her casual outfit made her look even more innocent. The girl was surprised when she saw me, then she saw Song Xiaodan on my back and her eyes showed vigilance. I spoke quickly. "You are Qian Lan, Sister Song's roommate, right?" When Qian Lan saw me calling out her name, the vigilance in her eyes disappeared. "Why is Xiaodan so drunk?" I put Song Xiaodan on the sofa and gave Qian Lan a wry smile. I don't know why she was drinking so hard today. No matter how hard I tried to persuade her, she wouldn't stop. Maybe she was thinking about something unhappy. Qian Lan looked at me, with vigilance in his eyes again. "What did you say to my little Dan?" I couldn't tell her that Song Xiaodan's virginity was taken away by Li Liangcai, so I had to tell Qian Lan some of the things I could. "Nothing much. Just some small talk." Then she mentioned that her ex-boyfriend broke up with her because he thought her family was poor. Maybe that's why she's in a bad mood. Qian Lan stopped talking, turned around and got a hot towel to wipe Song Xiaodan's face. I remember Song Xiaodan said Qian Lan had misophobia. Although she didn't look like she had any misophobia, I still didn't dare to stay any longer. Since the person has been sent home, I won't bother him anymore. But as soon as I turned around, Qian Lan called me. "Wait a minute." I stopped. Qian Lan came up to me and stared at me with her big eyes, as if she wanted to see through my heart. "What is your relationship with Xiaodan?" I felt a little guilty when asked this question and didn't know how to answer for a moment. "Normally, Song Xiaodan and I have no relationship, not even friends. But she took me to secretly watch the boss lady do a SPA today, and just now she did something so exciting to me in the hotel. It's not right to say that she is not a friend. I'm her friend. But we're not very close." Qian Lan snorted and looked at me with a hint of sarcasm in his eyes. "Why, after finding out that my Xiaodan is a poor girl who rents a house, you start to despise her and want to quickly cut off ties with her?" I didn't expect Qian Lan to say such a thing, so I hurried to explain. "Ms. Qian, don't get me wrong. Sister Song and I are really not very familiar with each other. I don't have any intention of pursuing her." Qian Lan looked at me, her beautiful big eyes full of sarcasm. "You still want to lie to me, right?" When Jiang Hongwei found out that my Xiaodan was a poor country girl, he said the same thing. Do you think I still believe it? When I heard Qian Lan say this, I immediately understood that Jiang Hongwei was Song Xiaodan's ex-boyfriend. I didn't expect that guy had said the same thing to me, which shows that he is also a scumbag. I had no choice but to continue explaining. "Ms. Qian, you really misunderstood me. I am actually just the driver of one of Sister Song's clients, and I have only met Sister Song a few times. Tell me, how could I be Sister Song's boyfriend? Sister Song doesn't even look down on me, a poor boy who drives for others." Qian Lan still didn't believe it. "I don't know why Xiaodan fell in love with you. But I have known her for almost 10 years. We have been living together since we graduated from college. She had never asked a man to take her home. Even when she was in love with Jiang Hongwei, she never asked him to send her home. But she asked you to take her home, and you still said that you two were just ordinary friends." I was stumped by Song Xiaodan's question. Well, since you don't believe me, I won't explain. Just tell me what you want me to do. Qian Lan glanced at Song Xiaodan lying on the sofa. Xiaodan is always emotionally unstable when he drinks. I hope you can stay tonight. I didn't expect that Qian Lan would actually ask me to stay overnight, and I looked a little embarrassed. Although Song Xiaodan and Qian Lan are both young and pretty, my heart is now full of the charming lady boss, and I really have little interest in them. Just as I was hesitating whether to agree to stay, Song Xiaodan suddenly sat up from the sofa. Xiaolan, let Chen Lin go. We are really just ordinary friends. It is really inappropriate for him to stay overnight. Chen Lan stopped making things difficult for me when she saw Song Xiaodan speak up. Since Xiaodan said you are just ordinary friends, you can go. Chen Lan said this and pushed me out the door. After closing the door, Chen Lan immediately sat down next to Song Xiaodan. Xiaodan, don't tell me you don't like him. I saw the way you looked at him and guessed that you liked him, so I helped you find this excuse to keep him. Song Xiaodan lowered her head. I admit that I like him a little. But I'm not worthy of him. Don't mention this again in the future. Song Xiaodan's attitude towards me changed drastically because she secretly fell in love with me. In the past, although Song Xiaodan teased me many times, it was purely because she thought I was innocent and fun. But after seeing that I refused to back down in the face of 4 thugs and rescued her from them, her attitude towards me changed. From the moment the gangster's iron rod hit my back, Song Xiaodan couldn't help falling in love with me. It was because Song Xiaodan began to like me that she began to care about her image in my heart. This is why she became shy and ladylike when she met me again. When Chen Lan heard her best friend say that she was not worthy of me, she immediately became dissatisfied. Xiaodan, I don't allow you to say such things. You are so beautiful and so smart. There is no man in this world who is not worthy of you. If you really like him, I will go to see him tomorrow. If you are embarrassed to say it, I will confess to him on your behalf. Although Qian Lan looks innocent and like a girl next door, she is actually more daring than Song Xiaodan. As long as she is determined, she doesn't care about other people's opinions. Song Xiaodan was shocked by Qian Lan's words and hurried to stop him. Xiaolan, please don't. He already has someone he likes. As it is now, he and I can still be friends. I am content. If you confess to him for me, we won't even be friends anymore. Qian Lan sighed when he heard Song Xiaodan say this. I really don't understand. Xiaodan, you were always very brave before. Why are you so timid after meeting Chen Lin? Song Xiaodan looked at the moonlight outside the window and whispered softly. I don't know either. Maybe I really fell in love with him. Chapter 15. The boss shares his experience. I didn't know about the conversation between Song Xiaodan and Qian Lan. I took a shower and went to bed when I got home. In my dream, the boss's wife held my hand and kissed me. I got up in the morning and had just finished breakfast when I received a call from my boss. Since I saw the boss's wife almost naked yesterday, when I saw the boss calling me, I immediately felt guilty and picked up the phone carefully. Xiao Chen, come to my house right now and take me to the high-speed rail station. I'm going out of town to discuss business. I didn't dare to delay and quickly finished the porridge in the bowl in 2 mouthfuls, then drove to the villa where the boss lived. As soon as I arrived at the door of the boss's villa, the boss was already waiting for me at the door. Seeing me, the boss told me, Xiao Chen, take me to the high-speed rail station later, and then come back to accompany your sister to see a Chinese doctor. Their sister, the boss is referring to, is naturally the boss's wife. Although the boss is not loyal in relationships, he is very smart and has always been polite to me as a driver. I looked at the proprietress standing at the door. The boss lady was wearing a long black fishtail skirt today, with a lace white shirt tucked inside the skirt, which made her waist look particularly thin. When I saw the boss lady's 2 beautiful legs exposed, my mind immediately came back to her perfect jade-like back that I saw yesterday. I was afraid that my body would react again, so I quickly lowered my head and didn't dare to look at the proprietress again. When the boss's wife heard that the boss wanted me to accompany her to see a doctor in the morning, her face turned red. No need. I can drive there by myself. No need for Xiao Chen to accompany me. The boss waved his hand. How can that be possible? The doctor is not in the city, and I heard that their town is a bit chaotic. How can I feel at ease if you drive there alone? After hearing what the boss said, the proprietress finally gave up refusing. I helped the boss put the luggage into the trunk and started the car. After the car drove out of the community, I asked the boss, "Boss, what's wrong with the boss's wife?" Although my boss asked me to call the boss lady sister, I never did so. The main reason was that I felt that I was not worthy of calling the boss lady sister. The boss looked at me and said slowly, "It's nothing serious. We've been married for so many years and still don't have a child, so I recently found a Chinese doctor to help your sister. They said that this Chinese medicine doctor is very effective in treating infertility." Having said that, the boss looked at me again. "Xiao Chen, I heard from Xiao Dan that you accompanied them to get a beauty treatment yesterday." I didn't expect that the boss would suddenly ask me about this, and I was immediately scared. "Boss, I just drove them there, I didn't go in with them. Men are not allowed to enter that beauty salon either." I'm not very good at lying, and my face turned red halfway through my speech. I felt that my boss was smart and must have figured out that I was lying. I became even more nervous, not knowing how he was going to deal with me. But the boss didn't seem to notice anything unusual about me. "You guys went to the aromatherapy shop, right? I know that beauty salon. It's owned by a friend of Song Xiaodan." After hearing what my boss said, I became even more nervous. I felt like he seemed to know that I had peeked at his wife. "Boss, At this moment, I almost confessed to my boss. But the boss interrupted me. "Xiao Chen, do you still remember what I told you yesterday? Some people are a burden to me now. But to you, they are your only chance in this life." Having said that, the boss glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "So, you must seize the opportunity in front of you." I was silent. The boss's words seemed to be encouraging me to seize the opportunity and pursue the boss's wife as soon as possible. "After you accompany your sister to see the doctor, you don't have to rush home. You can take a walk outside with your sister to relax. Your sister recently said that she wanted to go out and relax, but I was too busy with my business and never had time to accompany her. You should accompany her for me today." My heart beat faster. Although the boss never said it explicitly, I could still feel that he was hinting at me to seize today's opportunity and seduce the boss's wife. Seeing that I still didn't speak, the boss lit a cigarette. "Xiao Chen, I heard that you want to pursue a married woman recently, right?" My heart beat faster. The boss has made it even clearer. I didn't know how to answer, so I just hummed vaguely. The boss began to impart his experience to me. "I tell you, married women are more attractive than young girls. But when you pursue them, you have to be careful about the method. They are all experienced people, so you can be bolder. Don't think that some women are very serious and unattainable. But as long as you can conquer their upper and lower holes, they will follow you wholeheartedly from then on. My wife, for example, is this type of person." The boss said this to the point that even if I was a fool I would know that he was teaching me how to pursue his wife. So I felt more at ease. It seems that he really wants me to win over the boss's wife as soon as possible. After sending my boss to the high-speed rail station, I saw from afar that my boss was holding the hand of a young woman and they walked into the station together. I immediately remembered what Song Xiaodan told me yesterday. I guess that woman must be the boss's secret mistress. I really wanted to see what the woman looked like, but I was worried about being discovered by my boss, so I had to give up. I drove back to the boss's house and saw his wife practicing yoga. This is the boss's habit. She practices yoga for half an hour every day. The boss lady was wearing a light pink yoga top and light green pants. Maybe the boss lady didn't expect that I would come back so soon, because she was obviously not wearing a bra under her top, and the scenery inside was vaguely visible. Seeing this scene, my body started to lose control and became abnormal. I was so scared that I quickly crossed my hands and let them hang down, then stood at the door pretending to be polite. Although the boss just said that I could be bolder. But I know that the boss lady has a traditional personality. If she saw that I had dirty thoughts about her, I guess she would kick me out immediately. When the proprietress saw me come in, her face turned red and she quickly found a piece of clothing to put on. "Xiao Chen, you're back. Sit down for a moment. I'll go upstairs to change my clothes." But I stood there and didn't dare to move, for fear that if I moved I would be discovered by the boss lady and be embarrassed. When the boss lady saw me standing there without moving, she thought I was feeling inferior because the decoration of their house was too high-end. The proprietress came up to me. "Xiao Chen, please sit down. You don't need to be restrained in our house." I smelled the fragrance of the boss lady and my body started to behave abnormally again, and I became more and more panicked. "No need, madam. I'll wait for you here. You'd better go upstairs and change your clothes." My heart was in my throat. If the boss lady found out what was wrong with me, I would be too ashamed to see her again. Chapter 16, asking me to give the boss lady a massage. At this moment, the proprietress suddenly took my hand and wanted to pull me to sit in the living room. But when she pulled, she immediately discovered something abnormal with my body. "R!" the proprietress exclaimed and her face changed. The proprietress turned around and ran upstairs like a frightened deer. I didn't expect that the boss lady would suddenly come and hold my hand. I was so embarrassed that my face turned red when the boss lady discovered my secret. I was too embarrassed to wait in the boss lady's house anymore. "Boss, I'll go wait for you in the car first." After saying this, I fled back to the car. After waiting for about 10 minutes, the proprietress came out after changing her clothes. This time, the boss lady was dressed much more conservatively. She had changed her morning skirt into a pair of wide-leg cropped trousers, and her shirt into a dark yellow linen long-sleeved shirt. When she saw me, the proprietress no longer had her previous enthusiasm and her attitude became noticeably colder. After getting in the car, the lady boss sent me a location and said calmly, "Let's go." I knew that the boss lady had suddenly turned cold to me because she had just discovered that I had evil thoughts about her. I wanted to explain to the boss lady, but I didn't know how to explain it, so I had to drive to the destination. Along the way, I didn't dare to look around, let alone look at the proprietress in the rearview mirror. The boss lady who had always cared about me also acted out of character and became much colder towards me. Apart from saying one sentence to me when she got in the car, she never spoke to me again. I know that this is all because of the mistake I made just now, and I don't dare to speak up. When we arrived, the proprietress still didn't speak to me and got out of the car and walked straight into the clinic. This is a small 2-story clinic located in Huaiyang town. When we arrived, there were not many patients in the clinic, only 3 old ladies. The doctor who saw the patients was a middle-aged woman in her 40s. Seeing the proprietress, the female doctor nodded at her. "Miss Luo, your husband has already told me about your situation. Please wait here for a moment. I will show you after I have examined these elderly people." The proprietress blushed and nodded, then sat down on the bench next to her. I stood by and didn't dare to say a word. After waiting for about 20 minutes, the female doctor finally finished examining all 3 old ladies, then took the proprietress to the 2nd floor and asked me to wait downstairs. I have been wondering how I can make the boss lady stop being mad at me. But after thinking about it, I couldn't come up with any good solution. I have never been in a relationship and I don't quite understand women's minds. I don't know how to make a woman happy. Although my boss taught me this morning that I should be bolder when dealing with young women like the boss's wife. My boss even told me that as long as the other party was not too resistant, I could find an opportunity to kiss her forcefully. As long as you can force a kiss and stick your tongue into her mouth, it's a big step forward. She may be irritated at the time, but women also have physiological needs, and she will be closer to you in the future. When the other person takes the initiative to get close to you, it is time to take a step further and win her over completely. At this moment, I was thinking, after sending the boss's wife home, should I try the method the boss mentioned? But I still care too much about the boss lady and don't want to make her angry. But if I don't try this method, I really can't think of any other way to make the boss lady stop being angry with me. Just as I was daydreaming, the female doctor came to me. "Come upstairs with me." I didn't know why the female doctor suddenly came to see me, but I still followed her upstairs. The upstairs is not very big and there is a small bed. The proprietress is sitting on the bed nervously. I saw the boss's wife nervously holding onto the edge of the bed, and I immediately thought of those people with terminal illnesses, where doctors would talk to their family members alone. I panicked immediately and grabbed the female doctor. My voice became hoarse due to nervousness. "Doctor, what's wrong with my boss's wife?" The female doctor chuckled when she saw me like this. "Don't worry, Miss Luo is not ill. It's just that her body needs some yin and yang adjustment to solve the problem of infertility. I have already given her a dose of medicine, but I still need to give her a full body massage using yang qi. To put it simply, she needs a man to give her a massage so that she can fully absorb the medicine and achieve the therapeutic effect. I have also studied Chinese medicine, but have never heard of this method of treating infertility. But the boss hired this female doctor. The couple believed her, so I couldn't say anything. Seeing that I didn't say anything, the female doctor continued, I asked you to come up because I wanted you to help Miss Luo with this massage. Of course, you are not her husband, so it is definitely inconvenient to give her a full body massage. So let's simplify it and just give her a lower abdominal massage. I heard the female doctor asking me to give the boss's wife a lower abdomen massage. Although I was looking forward to it, I was afraid that the boss's wife would be angry, so I quickly asked the female doctor, Doctor, do you really have to let me do this massage? Can we change someone else? The female doctor looked at me and smiled. Why, you don't want to help? I quickly shook my head. Of course I'm not unwilling to help, but The female doctor interrupted me. Since you are willing to help, there is no need to hesitate. I don't have a male doctor here, and if you don't help, I really can't find anyone. Don't worry, I will teach you how to do massage. I guarantee you will learn it after watching it once. As she spoke, the female doctor came to the bedside and asked the proprietress to lie down. The proprietress looked at me with a red face, hesitated for 2 seconds, and finally lay down. I was afraid that the boss's wife would be angry, so I didn't even dare to look at her. The female doctor saw me looking away and patted me. Don't be indecisive. Now treat yourself as a doctor and watch how I massage Miss Luo. I will only teach you once, and you will have to give Miss Luo a massage yourself from now on. As she spoke, the female doctor said to the proprietress on the bed, Miss Luo, don't be nervous or embarrassed. This is a medical treatment, you don't have to think too much. As the saying goes, one should never avoid medical treatment when he is sick. You should understand this principle, right? Now pull your shirt up a little to show your belly. The proprietress blushed and didn't dare to look at me. She slowly pulled up her shirt to reveal her belly. The boss lady's belly looks very nice, white and smooth, without a trace of fat. The female doctor pulled the boss lady's pants down a little bit, and then said to me, watch carefully. You can follow my example and give Miss Luo a massage later. 20 minutes of massage, and then you can go back. I looked at the proprietress inquiringly. Of course I was willing to do it, but I was worried that the boss's wife would not agree. The lady boss blushed but still said to me, just follow the doctor's instructions and don't let your imagination run wild. When I heard the boss lady say this, I was secretly happy but I didn't dare show it. Chapter 17 I couldn't help it again. The female doctor demonstrated it to me first. She massaged the boss lady's lower abdomen for 2 minutes and then let me try it. I was a little hesitant, and the proprietress's face immediately turned red again. Seeing that we were both very shy, the female doctor laughed. It seems that both of you are embarrassed by my standing here. Well, I will go downstairs first. As the female doctor spoke, she turned around to help us pull up the curtain, and then she really went downstairs. When I saw the female doctor coming downstairs, I became even more nervous. The proprietress, on the other hand, didn't seem as shy as before. Seeing me standing there motionless, the proprietress gave me a faint smile. It seems that you are not such a bad boy. Then don't hesitate. I was very happy when I heard the boss lady say this. The boss lady said this, indicating that she had forgiven me for my previous evil thoughts about her. I took 2 deep breaths before I dared to go to the boss's wife's bed. It was the first time for me to admire the boss lady so closely. Standing in this position, with the sunlight shining in from the window, I could clearly see the fine hair on the boss lady's belly. I didn't dare to think about it anymore, and quickly put my hands on the boss lady's lower abdomen and began to massage her according to the female doctor's instructions. But as soon as my hand touched the boss lady's belly, the smooth and soft feeling immediately made my heart seem like a fire was ignited. Although I tried my best to endure it, I still couldn't eliminate the evil fire in my heart. As the evil fire in my heart grew bigger and bigger, I could no longer control my body and a certain part of it began to change again. Noticing the change in myself, I quickly withdrew my hand and turned around. The lady boss had also noticed the changes in my body. However, she was not angry this time. Instead, she said to me softly, "This is a normal physiological reaction. Don't think about it. Just continue to massage me. I don't blame you." When I heard the boss lady say that she didn't blame me, I was overjoyed and immediately turned around and continued to massage her. Although the proprietress said she didn't blame me, she was too embarrassed to look at me and turned her head away. I didn't dare to have any more random thoughts and focused on giving the boss's wife a lower abdominal massage. I already know Chinese medicine and I'm good at massage, so I have a good grasp of the strength and technique. Just as I began to concentrate on giving the boss lady a massage, I heard a slight gasp from her, which was very similar to the gasp I heard from her in the dark room yesterday. My heart was suddenly on fire again. Could it be that the boss lady's body has reacted to my massage? This thought came to my mind, and I quickly turned around and secretly looked at the proprietress. The proprietress turned her head to the side, her pretty oval face flushed with shame. She bit her lower lip gently, as if she was trying her best to endure something, but sometimes she couldn't help but gasp. Seeing the boss lady like this, how could I bear it? The body that had just returned to normal began to show abnormalities again, and the hands began to become increasingly restless and uncontrollable. But I was worried that the boss's wife would be angry, so I tried my best to be patient and not let my hands move too much. But this kind of endurance is extremely difficult. Just when I was about to lose control and my hands slowly moved up, wanting to touch the forbidden area that did not belong to me, the voice of the female doctor came from downstairs. 20 minutes are up. I was suddenly filled with disappointment, but could only quickly withdraw my hand. When the proprietress heard the female doctor say that the time was up, a look of relief appeared on her face and she quickly pulled down her shirt. Xiao Chen, thank you. As the proprietress spoke, she stood up from the bed, then looked at me again, and her pretty face turned red again. After quickly tidying up her clothes, the proprietress said softly, I'll go downstairs first. You can come down after you feel normal again. While speaking, the proprietress didn't dare to look at me. After the boss lady left, the distracting thoughts in my mind quickly disappeared and my body quickly returned to normal. When we came downstairs, the female doctor had already packed a large bag of Chinese medicine for the proprietress. I have already prepared these medicines for you. When you go back, just remember to drink them on time. 1 pack each morning and evening. You must remember that from now on, do not interrupt. Otherwise, the effect will be reduced. Even if I start over again next time, I won't be able to achieve the same results as the first time. Having said that, the female doctor looked at me and lowered her voice. Every time you take the medicine, you must remember to ask your husband to give you a massage. It is best to do a full body massage. In this way, the yin and yang can be fully harmonized and the effect can be achieved. The proprietress blushed and agreed. I took the bag from the boss lady. The proprietress asked me to go back to the car first, then asked the female doctor a few more questions before returning to the car. It was already noon when I came out of the small clinic. The proprietress asked me to find a restaurant in the town that looked relatively clean, and planned to have dinner before returning to Chengdu. This place is hundreds of kilometers away from Chengdu, and some sections of the road are still under repair. It takes at least 2 hours to drive back. When we entered the restaurant, we ordered a few dishes at random and didn't order any wine. I can't drink because I have to drive. The boss's wife doesn't drink normally either. The restaurant is not big. Just after we ordered the food, we saw a few scoundrel-looking young men walking in. Several men ordered a table of food and a box of white wine. When the proprietress saw these men, she frowned slightly and urged me to eat quickly. The men were sitting behind us, speaking vulgarly. Perhaps it was because there had never been a beauty as beautiful and elegant as the proprietress in this small town, and several men glanced at her from time to time. That would have been fine, but after a few drinks, they started talking nonsense and criticizing the proprietress. A guy with dyed yellow hair stared at the boss lady's chest. She has a pretty face and a firm butt, but her breasts are not big enough. However, this kind of young woman has the best skills in bed and is the most enjoyable to play with. Several people burst into laughter immediately, and looked at the proprietress with even more obscene eyes. I couldn't bear to listen any longer, so I stood up and was about to slap the yellow-haired guy twice. When the proprietress saw me standing up, she quickly pulled me back and shook her head at me. Forget it, they are drunk, don't bother with them. Let's go. The proprietress whispered in my ear and tried to pull me away. But the yellow-haired guy also stood up at this time, and looked at me with a chuckle. What's up, kid? Wanna get into trouble? As he said that, Huang Mao looked at the proprietress again. This woman is so flirty, can't I say a few words to her? When I heard Huang Mao say that the boss's wife was slutty, I couldn't bear it any longer. Slut your mother. I grabbed an empty wine bottle on the table and smashed it on the yellow-haired guy's head. Chapter 18. The boss is not coming home tonight. Wang Mao probably didn't expect that I, alone, would dare to challenge 5 of them. I hit him on the head with a bottle, and blood immediately flowed from his head. Although the bottle broke the yellow-haired guy's head, he was not seriously injured. When Wang Mao saw the blood on his head, he immediately exploded. "Boy, you're looking for death." The yellow-haired man cursed and grabbed the wine bottle on the table and smashed it on my head. Without waiting for the yellow-haired man to throw the bottle, I chopped his wrist with my hand. Wang Mao felt a pain in his wrist and the bottle fell to the ground, but he did not give up. "Brothers, break this kid's legs for me." The remaining 4 thugs picked up wine bottles and surrounded me. The proprietress was so frightened that her face turned pale and she shrank behind me. I opened my arms, protected the proprietress behind me, and comforted her softly. "Don't be afraid, boss lady. Go back to the car and wait for me." With the experience of fighting with 4 hooligans in Chengdu last night, I am now much more familiar with fighting than before. I am no longer as nervous as I was last night. The proprietress was about to go out when she was stopped by a gangster in a white short-sleeved shirt. "Neither of you can leave today." Before the thug could finish his words, I took the initiative and kicked him in the stomach. I have been practicing yarn-style Tai Chi since I was young. Even after I moved to Chengdu, I still kept the habit of getting up early every day to practice Tai Chi. Therefore, my strength and explosive power are much greater than that of ordinary people. In addition, Tai Chi taught me the technique of exerting force. Although I didn't use my full strength in this kick, I still kicked the thug who was blocking the door and made him fall to the ground. The proprietress took the opportunity to escape from the restaurant. I didn't run away with him. Instead, I waved my hands and made a Tai Chi move, blocking the door. A few drunk thugs rushed towards me with bottles of wine. I didn't bother to be polite with them. I used the Tai Chi skills I learned in elementary school and knocked these thugs to the ground in just a few moves. This was my second time fighting with someone. Compared to the first time I fought with those thugs from Chengdu last night, I was obviously much more experienced. Although the hooligans quickly got up from the ground, they didn't have the courage to rush up and cause trouble when they saw that I seemed to be a martial artist. They just pointed the bottles at me and cursed. The proprietress had already started the car at this time. Seeing that the thugs didn't dare to go out, she immediately shouted to me, "Chen Lin, get in the car quickly." When a few thugs heard the boss lady asking me to get in the car, they immediately became eager to try. Instead of retreating, I moved forward and kicked down the thug in front of me. The remaining thugs were so scared that they ran towards the back door of the hotel. Only then did I turn around, go out, and get into the boss's wife's car. The boss lady was very nervous at this time. Without waiting for me to close the door, she stepped on the accelerator and the car sped away. Only after we drove out of the town did the proprietress breathe a sigh of relief and glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "Xiao Chen, why are you so impulsive? Do you know how dangerous it was? If they weren't drunk, we would be in big trouble today." I whispered softly. "I won't let them scold you like that." The boss lady originally wanted to teach me a lesson, but after hearing this, her tone suddenly softened. "I know you're standing up for me. But you must never do this kind of thing again next time. 10 years ago, your boss was beaten and sent to the hospital because he stood up for me. You said if you were injured by them just now, The proprietress stopped talking suddenly when she got to this point. I understand what the boss lady meant. She still cares about me and doesn't want me to get hurt, but she is too embarrassed to say it directly. After all, she is a married woman. She feels it is inappropriate to show excessive concern for other men. When I heard the boss's wife mention that the boss was beaten up 10 years ago because he stood up for her, I immediately remembered what Song Xiaodan told me yesterday. I know that the boss lady married Li Liangsai probably because of this incident. I couldn't help but become curious about what happened back then. "Boss lady, how did you meet the boss 10 years ago? Did you fall in love with him because he saved you?" The proprietress looked a little unnatural and suddenly stopped talking. When I saw the boss lady's look, I knew that I might have asked something I shouldn't have asked and she was unhappy. I quickly shut up. But in my heart, I was more curious about the incident 10 years ago when the boss saved the boss's wife. In theory, this matter is an important part of the romantic love between the boss and his wife. Even if the boss's wife is unwilling to brag about it to others, she should not be angry. But when the boss's wife heard me asking about this matter, she was obviously unhappy. Seeing the boss lady's abnormal reaction, I suddenly realized that this matter might not be as simple as I thought, and there might be other hidden secrets. Although I became more curious about this matter, I didn't dare to mention it again. I returned to Chengdu and sent my boss's wife to her home. Just as she was about to let me go back to the company, my boss called me. "Wife, did Xiao Chen accompany you to see Dr. Chen?" The proprietress looked at me. "I've seen him, and he prescribed a big bag of Chinese medicine and told me to take it on time." Speaking of taking medicine, the boss lady suddenly remembered the time when I massaged her lower abdomen in Dr. Chen's clinic. Two red clouds rose on the boss lady's pretty face and she asked softly, "Husband, when will you come back?" The boss coughed lightly. "Wife, I haven't finished my business yet, so I may not be able to come back today. If you are afraid of living alone at home, you can let Xiao Chen stay in the guest room downstairs tonight. It just so happens that Xiao Chen just broke up with his girlfriend and is in a bad mood. I am also worried that he lives alone and might do something extreme if he gets upset." The boss's wife wanted to refuse at first, but after hearing the boss say that I had just broken up and might be depressed, she finally agreed. "Is that so? All right then." The boss lady hung up the phone and asked me to help her carry the medicine in. Although it was not my first time to visit my boss's house, I was particularly nervous this time because the boss's wife had promised my boss that I could stay at her house tonight. Besides, the boss isn't going home tonight. In other words, tonight, there are only me and the boss's wife in the house. I'm not heartbroken. My boss knows my situation very well and there's no way he's made a mistake. That is to say, the boss was deliberately lying to his wife when he said that to her. If it was before Song Xiaodan made it clear to me, I would never understand why the boss would deliberately lie to his wife and let the boss's wife let me live at home. But now I know that my boss wants me to sleep with his wife so that I can divorce her. So it is easy to guess the purpose of his doing this. The boss obviously did this to create more opportunities for me to be alone with the boss's wife. The boss knew that his wife was a kind person, so he deliberately made up this lie and took advantage of the boss's wife's sympathy to make her agree to let me stay overnight. Chapter 19. My boss helped me lie. Although my boss never told me directly that he wanted me to sleep with his wife, everything he did in the past few days was secretly helping me to pursue his wife. From deliberately letting Song Xiaodan take me to secretly watch the boss's wife doing SPA yesterday, to asking me to accompany the boss's wife to see an infertility doctor today. The boss did it all for this purpose. This morning, my boss even hinted to me that I could just forcefully kiss his wife. Now he lied again, telling the boss lady that I was heartbroken. Obviously he wanted me to take advantage of the opportunity of being alone with the boss lady at home tonight to sleep with her. Thinking about the task assigned to me by my boss, I became even more nervous. The landlady saw me sitting stiffly on the sofa and sat down next to me. "Don't be nervous. In my eyes, you're like my brother. Just treat this place as your own home," the proprietress said as she poured me a glass of water. "I remember you are 24 this year." I nodded quickly, took the water handed to me by the proprietress and took a sip. While the proprietress was taking out vegetables from the refrigerator to prepare dinner, she chatted with me in a relaxed tone about family matters. "Let me tell you, my brother is already 29 years old this year. You are 5 years younger than him. Just treat me as your sister from now on. You have nothing to be nervous about at my sister's house." The boss lady thought I was nervous because of my low self-esteem. But she didn't know that the real reason I was nervous was because the boss wanted me to sleep with her tonight. However, after chatting with the boss's wife for a while, I felt a lot more relaxed and temporarily put the boss's task behind me. "Madam, I'll make dinner. You just wait and eat." The proprietress glanced at me with a look of surprise on her face. "Xiao Chen, can you cook?" I took the prawns from the proprietress with a smile. This is nothing strange. Among us rural children, there are few who can't cook. "Madam boss, leave these to me, you sit down and take a rest." When the boss heard me say this, she didn't bother to be polite and just left the cooking to me. However, she didn't leave the kitchen, but took a small stool and sat beside me to continue chatting with me. Just now the boss told her that I had just broken up with my lover and was not very stable. So the boss's wife wanted to use this method to help me get out of the shadow of the broken heart as soon as possible. "I saw you fighting with those thugs this afternoon. It seemed like you've practiced martial arts before. Have you ever learned martial arts?" I smiled at the proprietress, feeling a little proud in my heart, but being humble in my words. That does count. My family has doctors since my great-grandfather's generation. In addition to learning Chinese medicine from my grandfather, I also practiced Tai Chi with him to keep fit. When I fought those thugs just now, I used the yarn-style Tai Chi that my grandfather taught me. The proprietress became more and more curious and moved her small stool closer to me. I know Tai Chi, but isn't Tai Chi very slow? Can this kind of boxing be used to hit people? I kept my hands busy while explaining things to the proprietress. The slow Tai Chi you see is what old men in the park do for fitness. It's easy to learn, but it can't be used for fighting. The real Tai Chi can be fast or slow, and its actual combat power is actually very powerful. Yarn Lucan, the founder of yarn-style Tai Chi, was known as the invincible one in the world, which shows the actual combat power of Tai Chi. However, I heard from my grandfather that the descendants of the Yarn family made some modifications to yarn-style Tai Chi for the convenience of promotion. So the yarn-style Tai Chi that we often learn now, although easy to learn, is not very effective in actual combat. The proprietress' eyes lit up when she heard this. Then is this yarn-style Tai Chi that you are learning the version before or after the modification? I shook my head. I don't know. Grandpa never told me. The proprietress seemed very interested in the topic of martial arts. Xiao Chen, since you know martial arts and Chinese medicine, wouldn't it be a waste of your talent if you stayed here and drove for your boss? I have a lot of friends in Chengdu, and many of the big bosses they know want to find a martial arts practitioner like you as a bodyguard. If you are interested, I can ask for you. Let me tell you, being a bodyguard earns you much more than driving a car now. The boss lady obviously has good things for me and she is not trying to keep me just because she sees greater value in me. But I don't want to. No need, Madam Boss. I don't really like fighting and killing. I feel pretty good working as Mr. Lee's driver now. Of course, it's not that I really don't want to make money, but I just can't bear to leave my boss's wife. The proprietress had already taken out her cell phone, ready to ask her friends if there was anywhere hiring bodyguards. After hearing what I said, the proprietress put her phone away again. Since you don't want to be a bodyguard, I won't force you. The proprietress sat next to me and started helping me pick vegetables. Xiao Chen, I remember you said just now that you have been learning Chinese medicine from your grandfather since you were a child, right? When the boss lady asked me about my medical studies, I felt a little proud. When I opened a clinic in the village, my medical skills were often praised by the villagers. My grandfather taught me to recite the soup recipe song when I was 3 years old. After I graduated from junior high school, my grandfather had a stroke, and I officially took over his position and started treating the villagers. The proprietress' eyes lit up when she looked at me, with a hint of surprise and appreciation. Since you know Chinese medicine, why don't you open a Chinese medicine clinic? Nowadays, more and more people believe in Chinese medicine. I know several Chinese medicine clinics in Chengdu, and they are doing very well. If you don't have money, I can invest in you. A Chinese medicine clinic only costs a few $100,000. Isn't this better than driving for others? I gave a wry smile. I don't have a medical license, so I can't treat patients. It was because of this that the clinic my grandfather left to me was forcibly closed by the village chief. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been so poor that I had to pick up steamed buns to eat. When the boss lady realized that she had touched my sore spot, she quickly apologized. I'm sorry, Xiao Chen. I shouldn't ask you that. I gave the boss lady a smile. It doesn't matter. These are things of the past. Now I just want to drive well for Mr. Lee. Speaking of this, I suddenly remembered what Song Xiaodan told me last time, that the boss's brother Luo Xiaodorn had offended some Mr. Qin, so the boss wanted to divorce her. Boss lady, I heard that your brother offended some powerful person, is it true? The proprietress didn't expect that I would suddenly ask her about this. She was stunned for a moment and her voice suddenly became much colder. Did your boss tell you? I noticed that the boss lady's tone suddenly turned cold, and her oval face, which had always been smiling, suddenly became frost-covered. I was startled and quickly shook my head. No, I heard it from the clients when I accompanied my boss to meet them. At this moment, I was very nervous. Chapter 20 Going on an adventure for the boss lady. When the proprietress heard what I said, the frost on her face disappeared. After more than half a minute of silence, the proprietress sighed softly. It's true. Xiaodong has been ostracized because he offended Qin Feiyu, and was sent to support the Tibetan area last week. Recently, this Qin Feiyu has started to harass my sister-in-law Xie Yao again. I have been worrying about this for the past 2 days. There were obviously many nurses in their second municipal hospital, but they sent her, an inexperienced girl, to provide support at the Kaoshan Town Health Center. That place is far away, and Qin Feiyu drives there every day to harass her. We want to help, but we don't know where to start. When the proprietress said this, her face was full of sadness. When I heard the boss lady talking about this, I suddenly remembered Sister Shu from yesterday. Boss, I remember you guys are very familiar with Sister Shu from the health bureau. Last year, the boss even took over the renovation of a house in her family. Their house had just been renovated and it seemed that there was still some balance that had not been settled. The health bureau is the superior unit of the hospital. If Sister Shu can speak for Sister Xia, it should be easy to transfer her back. The proprietress looked at me. You are talking about Xu Ying, right? I nodded quickly and finally remembered the name of Sister Shu. I heard from my boss that Sister Shu seems to be the director of the Municipal Health Bureau. She should be able to help with your sister-in-law's problem, right? As long as she is transferred back from the town health center, it will be difficult for Mr. Qin to harass her again, right? In the city, he has to take some influence into consideration. The proprietress sighed. As the saying goes, when a wall falls, everyone pushes it. Although Sister Shu would not add insult to injury, after my brother offended Qin Feiyu, she also began to distance herself from our family. I called her a couple of days ago and wanted to ask her out for dinner, but she politely declined. This is enough to show that others are unwilling to help us. I don't blame Sister Shu. After all, Qin Feiyu's father is the deputy mayor of Rongchen. How could Xu Ying offend the Qin family for our family? When I heard the boss lady say this, I suddenly thought of what happened yesterday when Sister Shu went to the aromatherapy shop. I wondered if I could use this incident as a threat to get Sister Shu to help the boss lady's sister-in-law and transfer her back to the city from the town's health center. I want to help the boss's sister-in-law. I have no other purpose but to repay the boss and also to make up for the guilt I feel towards her. If I did that, then next time I cheated my boss's wife into bed, I wouldn't feel so guilty. Although I know that it is very risky to use this kind of thing to threaten Xu Ying. If things go wrong, Xu Ying might sue me and I might end up in jail. But when I thought about how good the boss lady was to me, especially the night we first met, when she looked so holy under the moonlight, I no longer hesitated. In my heart, the desire to protect the boss's wife has never diminished. Now I am helping the boss and trying to trick the boss's wife into bed, and the ultimate goal is also to protect the boss's wife. I want to help her end this marriage which seems happy on the surface but is actually unhappy as soon as possible. However, it was a huge risk to use the incident at the aromatherapy shop yesterday to blackmail Xu Ying. If I didn't handle it well, the rest of my life might be ruined by this incident. Now, I can only bet that Xu Ying is afraid that her husband will know that she is cheating outside, so she dare not sue me. After dinner, I found an excuse to return to the company, found Xu Ying's mobile phone number from the customer information, and then called Xu Ying. Hello, Sister Shu, I'm Xiao Chen from Liangsai Decoration. Last time you mentioned that you wanted to do a noise test on your apartment in Shuiyan New City at night. We are ready. Are you free tonight? Sister Shu hesitated for a moment. Tonight? Sure. Wait for me. I'll be there right now. I'll be there around 8 o'clock. I originally just wanted to try and see if I could use this excuse to ask Sister Shu out. I didn't expect Sister Shu to agree so readily, which was a bit surprising to me. After hanging up the phone, I immediately took the noise testing tools and rushed to the waterside New City in the south of the city. After waiting outside the door for about 10 minutes, I saw Xu Ying coming over with a small bag. Xu Ying wore a linen short-sleeved top, a white chiffon skirt with black flowers, and a pair of transparent high-heeled sandals. This outfit made Xu Ying look elegant and noble. Although Xu Ying is already 35 or 36 years old, she looks much younger now and still has the charm that is no less than that of a young and beautiful woman. Seeing me, Xu Ying nodded at me. You are Mr. Li's driver, Xiao Chen, right? As she spoke, Xu Ying opened the door. The decoration of Xu Ying's house has been completed, and the furniture has been basically equipped. Because Xu Ying's husband has poor sleep, he attaches great importance to the sound insulation of the house, especially at night. Therefore, Xu Ying asked us to help her do a noise test at night last time. Following Xu Ying into the room, I put the toolkit on the ground and changed into slippers. Sister Xu, our boss is very attentive to the decoration of your house. Just now I said I would come to your house to do a noise test, and our boss's wife also said she wanted to come along to take a look. Later, the boss's wife had something to ask her at home, so she didn't come with them. I deliberately mentioned the boss's wife to see Xu Ying's reaction. Xu Ying looked at me with a faint smile on her face, as if she saw through everything. Xiao Chen, I heard from your boss that you are more loyal to your boss's wife than to him. It seems that this is true. Come on, let me tell you straight. Your boss lady deliberately asked you to come and test my mouth tonight, right? I didn't expect that Xu Ying was such a smart woman. She saw at a glance that I had other intentions when I asked her to come for the test tonight. But I didn't admit it. Sister Xu, don't think too much. Our boss lady is just concerned about the decoration of your house, and she has no other intentions. Xu Ying looked at me with a meaningful smile on her face. Really? If you say so, forget it. I wanted to talk to her about transferring her sister-in-law back to the city. To be honest, whether or not to transfer her sister-in-law Xie Yao back to the city is just a matter of a word from me. Although Qin Feiyu's father is the deputy mayor, my uncle is in the provincial office. Others are afraid of the Qin family, but I am not afraid of them. I didn't expect that Sister Xu had such a strong background, and I couldn't help but be overjoyed. In that case, Sister Xu, can you help our boss lady this time? Don't worry, as long as you can help our boss lady this time, our boss lady will definitely reward you handsomely. Sister Xu looked at me with a smile. Go back and tell Luo Xueqing. If she wants me to help her transfer Xie Yao back, it won't be difficult. As long as she asks her husband to withdraw from the interior decoration contract of the Municipal Science and Technology Museum, I will do her this favor. When I heard what Xu Ying said, I couldn't help but get a headache. I know the order from the Science and Technology Museum. It was the first big order that the boss's new backer helped him get. Not to mention that I can't represent the boss lady. Even if the boss lady came in person, she wouldn't be able to agree to this. Although the boss's company was started by relying on the connections of his wife's family, in the past 2 years, the boss has developed his own connections. In order to prevent the Luo family from hindering his business, the boss is ready to divorce his wife. How could he exchange an order worth tens of millions with Xu Ying just to help the boss's wife and sister-in-law transfer jobs? Xu Ying's proposal of such a condition was equivalent to cutting off my hopes directly. Chapter 21 Negotiation with a Dignified Lady. I once heard from the person in charge of budgeting in the company that the Science and Technology Museum project had a very high profit margin, at least 70%. Of course, the boss can't take all of the 70% profit. He has to give at least half to the big backer who helped him get the order. But even so, the boss still made a profit of 2 to 3 million. This profit is equivalent to the company's revenue for half a year. The boss is someone who values money so much that there is no way he would give up such a huge profit just to help the boss's wife's brother-in-law transfer jobs. But I also knew that if I rejected Sister Xu directly, there would be no room for maneuver. Asking Sister Xu to help transfer Xie Yao back to the city hospital would no longer be possible. So I lowered my voice. Sister Xu, isn't your condition a bit too high? After driving for more than a year with my boss, I have some understanding of the unspoken rules in the business world, and I also know that when it comes to government orders, there is often an exchange of interests between officials. The interest relations here are often very complicated and may involve many people. It's best not to ask about the things here if you can avoid asking. At the same time, I also learned some negotiation skills. My current status is completely different from Sister Xu's. If I directly refuse, Sister Xu will probably just turn around and leave. Even if I want to threaten Sister Xu with what happened in Chongzunfang yesterday, I don't have a chance to speak. So, I can only express it in a tactful way. Sister Xu looked at me and a faint smile appeared on her face again. Young man, I don't look down on you. You can't make the decision on this matter, and there's no point in me talking to you. You can tell your boss what I said. If she is willing to give up the order, I can give them 20% of the profit. Or if they do it, I can get a 20% share of the profits. Sister Xu said this and turned to leave. I saw Sister Xu was leaving, and I was anxious. I knew the boss would never agree to this condition, so I quickly asked, Sister Xu, can I exchange it with you on other terms? Sister Shu stopped and turned to look at me. It's not impossible to change the terms, but your boss lady has to come and talk to me in person. As for you. Although she didn't say the rest, I already understood what she meant, which was that I was not qualified enough to negotiate with her. At this moment, I have already risked everything to help the boss lady. Sister Shu, this condition was not proposed by our boss lady, but an exchange I wanted to make with Sister Shu. When Sister Shu heard what I said, a beautiful smile appeared on her face. Although Sister Shu smiled at me, I could feel that there was disdain in her eyes when she looked at me. I'm not angry either. I am just a small driver for Li Liangsai now, and I am not qualified to negotiate with Sister Shu. If I hadn't used the excuse of helping her family do noise testing, I wouldn't even be qualified to see her. But I didn't back down. In order to protect the boss lady and to win her favor, I am willing to take risks. Sister Shu, I went to a gym yesterday afternoon to work out. I accidentally discovered that the gym actually had a secret. There was actually a dark room in the corridor behind the gym. I didn't tell her directly about Sister Shu's visit to the aromatherapy shop to find a male technician yesterday. This is also a way of dealing with things that I learned from my boss Li Liangsai. The advantage of handling it this way is that everyone still has room to maneuver. It saves face for Sister Shu while also avoiding any criticism. Even if Sister Shu wanted to sue me, she wouldn't be able to get any evidence. As I spoke, I stared at Sister Shu's face and observed the changes in her expression. Sister Shu still kept smiling. What does this have to do with me? Sister Shu sounded very calm, but I could tell from her eyes that she was a little panicked. I took 2 steps closer to Sister Shu and continued to put pressure on her. I knew that Sister Shu and I were having a fierce battle. If I wanted to win, I could only temporarily put aside my inferiority complex and try to be strong. That gym is right next to the aromatherapy shop. Sister Shu should know about it, right? The corner of Sister Shu's mouth twitched, but she still forced herself to remain calm. So what if I know? I went to the aromatherapy shop just to get a beauty treatment. I don't know what dark room you're talking about. Seeing that Sister Shu was still being stubborn, I knew I had no choice but to use my trump card. I turned around and closed the doors and windows, then pulled up the curtains before walking in front of Sister Shu again, trying to keep my voice as low as possible. Sister Shu, I heard that you like deeper exercises, right? This sentence was like a sword to the throat, which immediately broke Sister Shu's defense. When Sister Shu heard this, her face turned pale instantly, and her eyes were full of surprise and shock. I was very satisfied to see Sister Shu's reaction. I know that I, a small driver, will soon win in this confrontation with the beautiful lady. However, Sister Shu's psychological quality still exceeded my expectations. After the initial panic, Sister Shu quickly calmed down. Her pretty face began to turn from white to red, and the way she looked at me also began to change. I could feel that there was a bit more charm in Sister Shu's eyes when she looked at me. Sister Shu is still the elegant and noble Sister Shu, but her eyes at this moment have the temperament of Song Xiaodan, a female demon. It seems that she is ready to pounce on you and swallow you up at any time. Although I already knew that Sister Shu was a hypocrite and her ladylike manner was just an act, I was still shocked by her sudden change and quickly took 2 steps back until my back hit the wall. Sister Shu approached me step by step, and the smile on her face became more and more intense and charming. Since you already know my secret, I won't pretend with you. Let's make a deal. You keep my secret for me, and I can help your boss's wife transfer her sister-in-law back to the city. How? When I heard Sister Shu say this, I was immediately overjoyed and relaxed completely. Risking going to jail, I finally helped the boss lady accomplish this important task. Thank you, Sister Shu. Now that we have discussed this matter, I will not disturb Sister Shu anymore, I said, wanting to leave. But Sister Shu stretched out her hand and stopped me. Sister Shu looked at me and slowly approached me. Although Sister Shu is not as stunning as the boss lady, her appearance is definitely not low. Under the light, my face and Sister Shu's face were less than half a meter apart. I could see that Sister Shu's skin was very tender and white, and she looked like a girl in her 20s. At this moment, there was a hint of charm in Sister Shu's smile. I've helped you so much, how are you going to thank me? Just as Sister Shu was speaking, I felt her chest push forward and almost hit me. I couldn't help but look down, and immediately noticed that 2 buttons of Sister Shu's black shirt had been undone. Since I am half a head taller than Sister Shu, when I lowered my head, I could see the 2 vague peaks in Sister Shu's shirt. They were bigger than those of the boss lady and Song Xiaodan. My breathing quickened. Chapter 22. The boss lady behaves abnormally after taking the medicine. Although I have been repeatedly trained by the female demon Song Xiaodan in the past 2 days, my resistance to such things has obviously increased. But being so close to the noble and dignified Sister Shu is still a bit too much for me. Even Sister Shu could clearly feel the changes in my body. My heart was in my throat and I hurriedly apologized to Sister Shu. "I'm sorry, Sister Shu. I didn't mean it." At this point, I could no longer remain calm. The person opposite me is a noble lady who is beyond my reach. I actually did such blasphemy to her. Even if I didn't mean to do it, it might still provoke her anger. For me, Sister Shu's anger is simply something that a small driver like me can't bear. Sister Shu was not angry, but instead showed a charming smile on her face. "Young people are powerful. Do you want to try it with me?" I didn't expect Sister Shu to say this to me, and I quickly shook my head. Sister Shu's expression changed and her voice suddenly turned cold. "Why, do you think I'm old?" I didn't expect Sister Shu's expression to change suddenly. I was shocked and quickly explained. "Sister Shu, you are really good at joking. Although I don't know how old you are, I think you are only a few years older than me. Women your age are at their most attractive. How could I dislike you?" After hearing what I said, Sister Shu finally regained her smile. "You are good at talking." As she spoke, Sister Shu took a few steps back and regained her previous dignity and elegance, with an inviolable expression on her face. If I hadn't just witnessed Sister Shu's charming style with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed that the woman who had seduced me just now was the same person as the dignified lady in front of me. After witnessing how quickly Sister Shu's expression changed, I became more and more aware of how unfathomable this woman is. Compared with Sister Shu, Song Xiaodan's cunning and scheming are simply not worth mentioning. At this moment, I didn't want to stay in this room for even a second, for fear that I would fall into Sister Shu's trap if I wasn't careful. "Sister Shu, if you have nothing else to do, I'll leave first." Sister Shu straightened her slightly messy shirt and put away the smile on her face. "Xiao Chen, what happened just now was just a joke. Don't take it seriously." I had no way of telling whether what Sister Shu said was true or not. I didn't know if she was just joking with me or if she really had sexual desire for me and wanted to sleep with me. But I immediately started playing dumb. "Sister Shu, what are you talking about? I just did a noise test for your home. Having been driving with Li Liangsai for a year, I know that playing dumb can sometimes save your life." After hearing this, Sister Shu smiled with satisfaction. "Xiao Chen, it seems that you are really a promising talent." Sister Shu didn't know much about me before, and she was actually most worried that I would tell others about what happened today. After hearing what I said, Sister Shu was completely relieved. After leaving Sister Shu's new home, I drove directly back to the boss's villa. Since the boss's wife believed the boss's lie and thought I was really heartbroken, the kind-hearted boss's wife decided to let me stay at their house for a few more days. In order to facilitate my entry and exit and prevent me from feeling inferior, the boss lady also recorded my fingerprint into the door lock. As soon as I opened the door, I heard some strange noises coming from the proprietress's room on the second floor. My heart suddenly became nervous. Could it be that there was a thief in the boss's house? This was my first reaction. So I quickly tiptoed upstairs and quietly came to the boss's door. The landlady's door was not closed tightly. Through the crack in the door, I saw the proprietress, wearing a pink silk pajamas, lying on the bed and looking at her phone. But her legs were tightly together, her pretty oval face had 2 red clouds, and her eyes were like a lost deer. The strange sound came from the proprietress's mouth. I felt relieved when I saw that there was no one else in the room. But when I saw the boss lady's appearance, my heart started beating rapidly again. Could it be that the lady boss is? Although I have no practical experience, there are many excellent actors in the island country. When I saw the expression on the boss lady's face, I immediately thought of what was going on. At this time, the proprietress's eyes were blurred, and her 2 long, white and well-proportioned legs were stretched straight. The 10 beautiful toes on her jade feet seemed like a little white rabbit with its tail pressed down, twisting its body desperately. At this moment, I almost couldn't hold back and rushed into the room. But finally, I held back. The boss lady is not Sister Shu. If I rushed in at this time, based on the boss lady's personality, she would probably slap me in the face and then kick me out. she would never talk to me again. Thinking of the consequences, I suppressed the impulse in my heart, stood where I was, and silently admired the proprietress on the bed. The confusion in the proprietress's eyes gradually disappeared, and her cell phone fell on the bed. The proprietress looked very tired at this moment, but she had an indescribable charm. I was afraid that the boss's wife would find me, so I tiptoed downstairs. In order to prevent the landlady from suspecting that I had just been peeping, I did not go back to the room directly, but quietly opened the door and went outside. Then, I used my fingerprint to open the door again. This time when I opened the door, I deliberately made a loud noise so that the boss's wife would notice that I was coming home. Sure enough, this time as soon as I entered the door, I heard the proprietress's voice coming from upstairs. "Xiao Chen, you're back." As soon as I entered the door, I saw the proprietress standing at the stairs. The boss lady was still wearing the pink pajamas she had just worn, and her face was still red. When she saw me, her eyes were obviously evasive. Seeing the boss lady's shy look, I suddenly wanted to know what she was watching on her mobile phone just now. Could it be that the boss lady also has the habit of secretly watching Japanese porn movies like me? When the proprietress saw me looking at her, her face turned even redder. "Xiao Chen, I've already cleaned up the second bedroom downstairs for you. You can sleep in that room from now on." As she spoke, the proprietress yawned deliberately. "I'm a little tired, so I'm going back to the house to sleep." I wanted to talk to the landlady for a while, but she turned around and went back to her room, closing the door. I knew that there was probably no hope for tonight, so I prepared to go back to my room to rest. But at this moment, a question suddenly occurred to me. Based on my understanding of the boss's wife's personality, she is not the kind of woman who cannot control her desires. Otherwise, if the boss hadn't done that with her for more than half a year, she should have gone to the aromatherapy shop to find a wild man just like Sister Shu. But the boss's wife obviously didn't do that. Otherwise, the boss wouldn't have tried every possible way to get me to sleep with his wife. The more I thought about it, the more suspicious it seemed. Then I thought of the Chinese medicine that Dr. Chen prescribed for the boss's wife in the afternoon. I immediately went to the kitchen and saw a bag of Chinese medicine in the kitchen trash can. It was the Chinese medicine that Dr. Chen prescribed to the boss's wife for the treatment of infertility. I immediately realized that the Chinese medicine prescribed by Dr. Chen might not be as simple as treating infertility. Chapter 23: Convincing the Boss Lady. I picked up the bag and gave it a gentle sniff. I have been following my grandfather to treat villagers since I was a child, and I often went up the mountain with him to collect herbs. Therefore, I am very familiar with the taste of various Chinese medicinal materials. As soon as I smelled it, I knew immediately that the two main ingredients in this medicine are deer antler and epimedium. Both of these medicines have the effect of nourishing the kidney and strengthening yarn, and also have aphrodisiac effects. It is perfectly normal for the boss lady to have the reaction she had just now after drinking such medicine. When I found out the ingredients of the medicine Dr. Chen prescribed for the boss's wife, I immediately understood what was going on. The boss must have given this formula to Dr. Chen in advance, asking her to prescribe this medicine for the boss's wife. It's easy to guess the boss's purpose. He must be thinking of using this method to help me sleep with the boss's wife. Imagine a woman who has not been touched by her husband for a long time, and suddenly a young and handsome man moves into her house. Her husband happened to be on a business trip at that time. What would happen if this woman took another packet of this medicine at night? Probably few women can resist sneaking into a handsome guy's room in the middle of the night. Thinking of this, I immediately understood why the boss lady had such a reaction just now. At the same time, a new expectation vaguely rose in my heart. I don't know if the landlady can withstand the effects of the medicine. Will she sneak into my room in the middle of the night? Thinking of this, I can no longer remain calm. When I came to the second bedroom, I found that the boss's wife had thoughtfully prepared a set of men's pajamas for me. It seemed that they were the boss's pajamas, and the size was a bit small. But when I see this set of pajamas now, I feel inexplicably excited. I am now living in my boss's house, wearing his pajamas. If only I could sleep with his wife in my arms tonight. I dare not think about it anymore. Although I think this is very bad, but when I think about how ruthless the boss is to the boss's wife, I feel that it is only natural to punish the boss in this way. Besides, the boss has no feelings for his wife. Otherwise, he wouldn't have kept a mistress outside and cheated with Song Xiaodan. Thinking of this, I immediately felt much more at ease, picked up my pajamas on the bed and went to take a shower. But as soon as I took off my clothes, I found that the faucet in the bathroom downstairs was broken and no water was coming out. I had no choice but to quickly put on my shorts and go upstairs to find the boss's wife. "Madam, the faucet in your downstairs bathroom is broken. Can I go upstairs to take a shower?" There is another bathroom upstairs in the boss's house, but it is inside the master bedroom. The landlady seemed to have gone to bed, but when she heard me say that the faucet downstairs was broken, she quickly opened the door. When the boss lady saw my muscular upper body without any clothes, her pretty face suddenly turned red again. But she didn't want me to see her embarrassment, so she pretended to be nonchalant and walked past me. But I could hear that the boss lady's breathing became much heavier. After checking the faucet in the bathroom downstairs, I found that there was really no water. The landlady finally agreed to let me take a shower in their master bedroom bathroom upstairs. However, the landlady did not follow me back to the room. When I finished taking a shower in the boss's room and came downstairs, I found that the boss's wife seemed to be drunk, her oval face was flushed, and her eyes flickered when she looked at me. It seemed that she had done something bad and was afraid of being discovered by me. Seeing the boss lady's look, I immediately understood that the packet of medicine had disturbed her heart and made it difficult for her to remain rational. The boss lady is a normal woman after all. She drank that medicine at night and just saw my body wearing only shorts. It's normal for her to have such a reaction under the double stimulation. If it were a woman with weaker self-control, she would have lost control by now and would have thrown me to the ground. The boss lady seemed relieved to see me finally finish washing and come downstairs. "Go to bed early." The boss lady didn't dare to look at me when she spoke. When I saw the landlady was going back upstairs to sleep, I couldn't help but ask, "Boss lady, did you take medicine at night? Dr. Chen has told me that after taking this medicine, you must do a massage immediately. The boss is not at home now, otherwise, how about letting me do the massage for you?" The proprietress had already stood up, but when she heard what I said, she stopped again, but she didn't say anything. Obviously, the proprietress was still hesitating and she was struggling inside. I knew what the boss lady was hesitating about. After all, she was already a married woman. Although I had already given her a massage once in the afternoon, she still felt that it was not appropriate for a man like me to give her a massage. The proprietress is a very orthodox woman, and morality has a strong restraint on her. No need for that. I'd better wait until Liang Sai comes back tomorrow and let him give me a massage. The proprietress said this and was about to go upstairs again. Seeing that I was about to miss the opportunity to get close to the boss lady, I hurriedly said, "But Dr. Chen said that every time you take the medicine, you must massage it in time. Otherwise, the medicine will not be absorbed. Even if we remedy the situation later, the effect will be greatly reduced. In fact, I don't believe that Dr. Chen's prescription can cure infertility. But now it is the best excuse for me to get close to the boss lady." After hearing what I said, the proprietress stopped again. I knew that the lady boss was already a little shaken, so I quickly continued, "Anyway, I have already massaged you once this afternoon, so it's nothing. Don't worry, I promise to do the same as I did this afternoon and I won't touch or look around randomly." After hearing what I said, the proprietress hesitated for 2 seconds and finally agreed. "Well, come up with me." I was just trying it out, but I didn't expect the lady boss to actually agree to let me give her a massage. I couldn't help but feel overjoyed. The proprietress led me into her and the boss's room, and immediately lay down on the bed, turned on the bedside lamp, and then turned off the main light. The landlady wanted to dim the lights because she was shy, but after she switched to the bedside lamp, the pale yellow light made the atmosphere in the room even more ambiguous. The proprietress lay on the bed, hesitated for a while, and finally slowly lifted up her pajamas, revealing her flat and white belly. Although I had already seen the boss lady's belly once in the afternoon, it was still difficult to hide my excitement when I saw it again. The proprietress's skin is naturally beautiful, and under the light of the goose yellow light, her fair skin turns into the color of the light, adding a bit of ambiguity to her beauty. When the proprietress saw me staring at her lower abdomen greedily, a hint of vigilance immediately appeared in her eyes, and she quickly pulled down her pajamas to cover her lower abdomen. "Xiao Chen, I let you give me a massage because I trust you. You can't do anything rash." I was awakened by the boss lady's words. I took a deep breath and made assurance to her again. "Don't worry, I won't mess around." The proprietress then pulled up her pajamas again, revealing her belly. "Then get started." Chapter 24 First Success. I carefully climbed onto the boss lady's bed and started massaging her lower abdomen. The boss lady didn't dare to look at me and turned her head away. Although she tried her best to appear calm, I could see that she was actually very nervous and her body was tense. I guess she was afraid that I would do something bad to her. However, under my superb massage skills, the boss lady's body began to relax slowly, and the expression on her face was no longer as tense as at the beginning. After 10 minutes of massage, the proprietress completely relaxed. Her face became redder and redder, and she would let out a low moan from time to time. Seeing the charming appearance of the boss lady, my heart beat faster, and my hands moved up uncontrollably, gradually touching the boss lady's chest. The proprietress had her eyes closed at this time, her breathing became heavier and heavier, and she didn't notice that my hand had already reached into her shirt. As my hands pushed higher and higher, my heart beat faster and faster. Finally, my hands grasped two soft mountains. At that second, I was so nervous that my heart was about to jump out. The feeling in my hands is a comfort I have never experienced before. At this moment, the proprietress's body suddenly trembled, and then she suddenly opened her eyes. "Xiao Chen, what are you doing?" I was so scared that I quickly pulled my hand back. "I'm sorry, Madam Boss, I didn't mean to do that. I just slipped in by accident." The proprietress looked at me with a complicated expression on her face. "Forget it, go back first." I didn't dare to stay any longer and quickly went back to my room. But when I returned to my room, I couldn't forget the feeling of holding it in my hand. I began to recall the feeling over and over again. The boss lady's penis is not too big, but it is very soft and just the right size to hold in one hand. Thinking about it like this, I fell into a deep sleep in the early morning. When I woke up in the morning, I heard the voice of the boss's wife outside. "Xiao Chen, it's time to get up and have breakfast." I heard the boss's wife calling me to have breakfast, and I knew she was probably not angry because I touched her breasts last night, so I quickly got up and washed up. When I came to the living room, I saw the proprietress was already sitting at the dining table. The proprietress was wearing a grey-green round-neck short-sleeved shirt and a pair of white trousers with blue and white patterns. She still looked elegant. Although she didn't smile, she looked radiant and her complexion was obviously much better than a few days ago. Seeing the changes in the boss lady, I guess it was probably because her physical desires were released last night. Seeing that the proprietress was not angry, I felt relieved. Breakfast is steamed buns and white porridge made by the boss's wife. While we were eating, the proprietress received a phone call, and her mood became noticeably better. "Xiao Chen, after dinner, come with me to pick someone up." As soon as I heard the boss's wife say she was going to pick someone up, I immediately thought of what sister she promised me last night. "Who are you picking up?" I asked casually, but I was actually a little nervous. Although Sister Shu agreed to help last night, I'm not sure whether she is really prepared to help or just trying to get by. Although this matter does not benefit me in any way, I take it very seriously. Last night, I took the opportunity to massage the boss's wife and touched her breasts. Afterwards, I always felt a little guilty. But if I succeed in helping Xie Yao transfer back to the city, I won't feel guilty towards the boss lady anymore, and I can continue to look for opportunities to give her massages with peace of mind. I can even take the opportunity of massages to get to know her better. My boss told me last time that as long as I conquer a woman's upper and lower holes, I can completely conquer her. I think that if I succeed in helping Xie Yao transfer her job, I should be able to verify the truthfulness of the boss's words with the boss's wife. Looking at the graceful back of the proprietress, my heart gradually became hot. The proprietress didn't notice my burning gaze. She was cleaning up the dishes while explaining to me what had just happened. "Do you remember what I told you yesterday about my sister-in-law Xie Yao?" I nodded quickly. The boss lady's tone became relaxed. "Xie Yao called me just now and said that their dean just informed him that he could return to the second hospital. Speaking of this, I have to thank you. Last night you asked me to find Sister Shu, and I called her later and told her about Xie Yao. She said she would help me try. I thought she was just trying to please me. I didn't expect that this would actually happen." The proprietress's face was full of joy as she spoke. "You don't know how important this matter is to our family. After my brother was ostracized and transferred to Tibet, Qin Feiyu asked someone to transfer my sister-in-law Xie Yao to Kaoshan Town. Although Kaoshan Town belongs to Chengdu City, it is a remote and poor place. Xie Yao told me that there were not many restaurants in their town, so they had to cook their own meals. But she just couldn't cook. Qin Feiyu is a very scheming boy who brings her meals every day. Xie Yao said she had been holding back and hadn't eaten. But I guess if she wasn't transferred back, Xie Yao would fall under Qin Feiyu's food offensive sooner or later. If Xie Yao is taken by Qin Feiyu, my brother's life will be half ruined. When the proprietress said this, she, who was always optimistic, choked up a little. This shows how much this incident affected her brother. I quickly comforted him. It's all right now. Sister Xu will help transfer Sister Xia back to the city. Qin Feiyu's tricks will automatically become ineffective. You don't have to worry about him poaching Sister Xia anymore. The proprietress also smiled. After dinner, I drove with the boss's wife to Kaoshan town. Along the way, the boss lady told me a lot about her brother Luo Xiaodong and her sister-in-law Xie Yao. I then learned that Luo Xiaodong and Xie Yao were classmates in elementary school. After entering college, their schools were next door, so they naturally got together. Xie Yao's family lives in the countryside and her mother has passed away. When the two got married, the boss's father was not very supportive, but Luo Xiaodong told his father directly that if he did not agree to their marriage, he would resign from his public office and take Xie Yao to the south for development. In the end, Luo's father agreed to their marriage. After listening to the boss lady's introduction, I know that Luo Xiaodong loves his wife Xie Yao very much, and the relationship between the two is very deep. But no matter how deep the relationship is, it can't withstand a rich and powerful third-party poaching like this. When the car drove into Kaoshan town, I understood why Xie Yao said this was a remote and poor place. Kaoshan town is called a town, but it is not much bigger than a village. Our village may be a little bigger than it. There are only a few dozen households in the entire town. The town hospital is located at the east end of the town and is an old two-story building. I parked the car at the hospital entrance and saw a girl in a red dress standing at the entrance. The girl was about 28 or 29 years old, not very tall, and petite. When the girl saw the proprietress in the car, a bright smile immediately broke out on her face. When I saw the smile on her face, I knew that she was the boss's sister-in-law, Xie Yao. I thought that the person Qin Feiyu pursued so hard must be a stunning beauty. Unexpectedly, Xie Yao's appearance was not outstanding. Xie Yao is not ugly, but she is not pretty either. She is the type that is more attractive. This kind of girl is actually quite easy to find. I don't understand why Qin Feiyu chose to focus on her and put so much effort into it. Chapter 25: The Man Who Wants to Poach Girls. The proprietress jumped out of the car and walked over to hug Xie Yao first. Xiao Yao, congratulations on escaping from the sea of suffering. Xie Yao had a happy smile on her face. I have to thank you for this, sister. If you hadn't helped me with the relationship, I wouldn't have been able to be transferred back to the city so quickly. The proprietress patted Xie Yao on the shoulder, took the backpack from her hand, and handed it to me. We are family and we don't have to talk behind each other's backs. It's strange for you to tell me this. When Xie Yao saw me put her backpack on the car, her eyes fell on me. Who is this? The proprietress hurriedly introduced it to her. I forgot to introduce him to you. This is Chen Lin, your brother-in-law's colleague. Chen also played a role in your transfer back to the city this time. The boss's wife said I was the boss's colleague instead of the driver, obviously to take care of my self-esteem. But she didn't know that Xie Yao's incident was actually my own achievement. The boss's wife thought that Sister Xu agreed to help their family out of consideration for her father's sake. Although I really wanted to let the boss's wife know that this was actually my credit, I didn't dare tell her the truth. After all, the way I forced Sister Xu to agree to help was not honorable. I don't know if the boss lady will be angry if she knows the truth. In addition, I promised Sister Xu to keep it a secret. If I told the boss lady that it was actually me who went to negotiate with Sister Xu last night and made her agree to help, then the boss lady would definitely ask the reason for the matter. By then, I wouldn't be able to keep Sister Xu's secret anymore. Thinking of the consequences, I finally suppressed the impulse in my heart and said nothing. Xie Yao was so eager to go home that she didn't even have breakfast. When the boss's wife heard that Xie Yao hadn't had breakfast, she asked me to accompany Xie Yao to the dormitory to get her things, and she went to the street to buy breakfast for Xie Yao. Their hospital dormitory is right next to it, also an old small building. As I accompanied Xie Yao into the dormitory, I saw a low-key Infiniti XQ60 parked downstairs and a man in his 30s got out of the car. The man was wearing a grey linen t-shirt and a pair of black trousers. When Xie Yao saw the man, her expression changed, and she immediately whispered in my ear, "Help me stop the man in the car later. If he asks me where I'm going, just tell him I've gone back to the second municipal hospital." As Xie Yao spoke, she hurriedly picked up the 2 suitcases that had already been packed and left through the stairs on the other side. After hearing what Xie Yao said, I immediately guessed the identity of this man. This man should be the Mr. Qin whom the boss's brother offended. Just when I was wondering why this Mr. Qin insisted on pursuing the married Xie Yao, Qin Feiyu's voice came from outside the door. "Yao Yao, I bought your favorite soup dumplings today." Before he finished speaking, Qin Feiyu appeared at the door. Seeing me standing in the dormitory, Qin Feiyu was stunned for a moment, and his aura changed instantly. Qin Feiyu just now was still a considerate and warm man. But in this second, Qin Feiyu has become an unattainable nobleman. Qin Feiyu looked at me with a condescending attitude, as if he was looking down at an ant. "Where's Xie Yao?" Qin Feiyu's tone was not a question, but an order. I felt very uncomfortable with Qin Feiyu's condescending attitude. Taking a look at the lunchbox in Qin Feiyu's hand, I knew that this was the way he harassed Xie Yao every day. Although the man in front of me looks bright and handsome on the outside, he is extremely dirty and filthy inside. In order to steal someone else's wife, this guy despicably transferred the other person's husband to Tibet for aid. He also secretly used his connections to transfer the other person's wife to this remote town. Now he comes over again to show his courtesy, trying to conquer someone else's wife in this way. Although I never think of myself as a good person, in my heart, I still look down on Qin Feiyu. I always think that there is nothing wrong with wanting to conquer a beautiful woman. It is a man's instinctive desire. But if this man does not rely on his real ability to conquer the woman's heart in an upright manner, but uses despicable means, then he is not a real man. Faced with Qin Feiyu's commanding questioning, I didn't give him a good look. Sister Xia has been transferred back to the second municipal hospital. So, you don't have to show your courtesy here anymore. Qin Feiyu's expression changed. Impossible. I ignored Qin Feiyu and prepared to go out. Qin Feiyu stretched out his hand and stopped me. "Wait a minute, who are you?" I glanced at Qin Feiyu. "I am just a small driver for Mr. Li. If Mr. Qin has any dissatisfaction, there is no need to vent it on me. Having said that, I'm leaving again." But Qin Feiyu suddenly got angry and raised his hand to hit me in the face. Qin Feiyu's blow was very heavy, but I have been practicing Tai Chi since I was a child, so my body's instinctive reaction is very fast. Before Qin Feiyu's slap could hit my face, I had already grabbed Qin Feiyu's wrist. "Mr. Qin, beating someone is against the law, don't you know that?" Qin Feiyu ignored my warning and punched me in the face with his left fist again. "I'm going to beat you up today. Do you think any police officer dares to arrest me?" I didn't expect that Qin Feiyu, who drove low-key, was so domineering. Seeing that Qin Feiyu's punch was merciless, I didn't show any mercy and threw him to the ground with an over-the-shoulder throw. Qin Feiyu was thrown to the ground by me, his eyes full of anger. But seeing that I seemed to have practiced that move before, he didn't dare to move forward again. Getting up from the ground, Qin Feiyu immediately left the dormitory. "Boy, you dare to throw me? You're dead." Qin Feiyu said this, turned around and walked out. I didn't take Qin Feiyu's warning to heart. Luo Xiaodong and I are different. Because Luo Xiaodong is a public official, Qin Feiyu can use his father's power to make things difficult for Luo Xiaodong. For example, like now, Luo Xiaodong was sent to Tibet to help. But I am different. I am just a driver for others. Even if Qin Feiyu wants to deal with me, he has no way to do it. As the saying goes, those with bare feet are not afraid of those who wear shoes. This is the truth. At worst, I'll change jobs. If it really doesn't work out, I can just move to another city to work. So, I didn't take Qin Feiyu's warning to heart. Seeing Qin Feiyu leave, I followed him downstairs. Xie Yao was already in the car. When she saw me coming back, she immediately whispered to me, "I saw Qin Feiyu drove away angrily just now. Did you offend him?" I glanced at Xie Yao. "It's not really an offense. He tried to hit me just now, but I threw him to the ground with my backhand." Xie Yao's face changed drastically. "You're not offending him. Did you know that he is the son of Deputy Mayor Chin? You really killed me. When I heard Xie Yao say that I killed her, I really wanted to tell her that if I hadn't helped her, she wouldn't know how long she would have stayed in this remote place. But when I thought of the boss's wife, I suppressed my anger. Chapter 26. The boss lady seems reluctant to let me go. Although Xie Yao's attitude towards me was not very good, the boss's wife was still very good to me. I helped Xie Yao because of the boss's wife. As for whether Xie Yao feels grateful to me or not, I don't care. The proprietress had already come back with breakfast. Seeing Xie Yao sitting in the back row angrily, the proprietress handed over the buns and asked softly, "Yao Yao, what's wrong with you? Who are you angry with?" Xie Yao glared at me angrily. "You are a really good driver." I asked him to stay and tell Qin Feiyu that I was transferred back to the city and asked him not to bother me again. But he ended up beating Qin Feiyu. You say he is harming us? Qin Feiyu is famous for his narrow-mindedness. If Chen Lin beat him up, he will definitely hold this grudge against Xiaodong and me. I don't mind. But Xiaodong is suffering. Xiaodong was supposed to be able to come back after 1 year of aid to Tibet. Now that Chen Lin has beaten Qin Feiyu, I'm afraid Xiaodong may not be able to come back for 3 years. After hearing what Xie Yao said, I realized that she was angry because she was worried that Qin Feiyu would take revenge on her husband. So I stopped arguing with Xie Yao. When the boss lady heard that I beat Qin Feiyu, she was also shocked and quickly asked me what happened. I briefly told her what had happened. After hearing this, the proprietress breathed a sigh of relief. It shouldn't be a big problem. Qin Feiyu and Xiao Chen were the only ones in the dormitory just now. Although Qin Feiyu was embarrassed, no one else saw it. This was not embarrassing for Qin Feiyu. Moreover, he was the one who hit Xiao Chen first. Xiao Chen was just fighting back in self-defense. Xie Yao was still worried. Sister, Qin Feiyu has always been vindictive. What if he takes revenge on Xiaodong again? The proprietress looked at me and spoke calmly. There's nothing to worry about. Even if this hadn't happened, Qin Feiyu wouldn't have let Xiaodong go. With this incident, Qin Feiyu couldn't eat Xiaodong. The most important thing at the moment is to find a backer that Qin Feiyu can be afraid of as soon as possible. As long as our family has a strong backer, Qin Feiyu will not only not dare to retaliate against you and Xiaodong, but he may also transfer Xiaodong back from the Tibetan area. After hearing what the boss lady said, Xie Yao finally felt relieved and her attitude towards me began to change. I'm sorry, Xiao Chen. I spoke to you like that just now because I was worried that Qin Feiyu would take revenge on Xiaodong. I apologize to you. I am not a stingy person. When I heard Xie Yao apologize on her own initiative, I smiled at her. No need to say sorry. If you feel sorry, Sister Xie, you can treat me to a meal some other day. When Xie Yao heard me say this, she knew that I had forgiven her and her face lit up with joy. No problem. Xie Yao was in a good mood because she was transferred back to the city hospital. She chatted with the boss's wife all the way and even asked her when she planned to have a child. The boss lady blushed at the question. When we returned to the city, the proprietress first asked me to take Xie Yao home. Back in the car, the proprietress's expression began to become serious. Xiao Chen, do you know how big a mess you've made today? I shook my head. Boss lady, are you talking about the beating of Qin Feiyu? The proprietress nodded. Xiao Yao was here just now, so I deliberately made it sound as if this matter wasn't serious. At this point, the proprietress sighed softly. Of course, things really can't get any worse for our family. Although Qin Feiyu has been making things difficult for my brother is a member of the system, and my father used to be the director of the construction bureau. No matter how much Qin Feiyu hates my brother, he can't do anything too extreme. He had my brother transferred to a cold and bitter land. This was the most cruel method he used. Even if he wanted to blame my brother for the beating you gave him today, Qin Feiyu couldn't hurt my brother's life. This is the unspoken rule that has been accepted by all of us in the system for many years. Anyone who violates it will become the target of public criticism, and it may even directly affect Qin Feiyu's father's future career. Therefore, as long as Qin Feiyu is not a fool, he would not dare to find someone to harm my brother's life. But it's different for you. You are not a member of the system, and you have no roots in Rongchen. If Qin Feiyu wants to deal with you, he won't care what means he uses. The proprietress said this, looked around, and lowered her voice even more. I just got the news that something happened at Qin Feiyu's home these days. It seems that his grandfather passed away. He will go to his hometown with his father to attend the funeral. Therefore, we still have a few days of buffer period. If we can't find a reliable middleman to help you resolve the grievances with Qin Feiyu before Qin Feiyu returns to Rongchen, then you will be in danger. With the power of the Qin family in Rongchen, when Qin Feiyu takes action, even if you don't die, you will be skinned alive. When I heard the boss lady's analysis, my expression changed. Although I have been driving behind my boss for more than a year and have gained some understanding of the business world in Chengdu, I know nothing about the unspoken rules of the Chengdu officialdom. Just now in Kaoshan town, I heard the boss lady say that this matter was not serious, and I thought Qin Feiyu really couldn't do anything to me. Now after hearing what the boss lady said, I realized that things were far from as simple as I thought. I would be lying if I said I wasn't nervous, but I didn't want to appear too cowardly in front of the boss lady. No matter how powerful the Qin family is, Qin Feiyu can't ignore the law, right? The proprietress shook her head slightly. If Qin Feiyu killed you in Rongchen, he would have someone create an accident scene afterwards, or create a scene where you committed suicide. With Qin Feiyu's power in Rongchen, those who are investigating will also take the initiative to cover up for him. When the time comes, when others report it, they will just say that you died in a car accident or committed suicide by jumping off a building. After hearing what the boss lady said, I realized for the first time how naive I was. At the same time, I felt a chill in my heart for the first time. I used to think that this city was just what it looked like on the surface, and that the world was fair. But after listening to what the proprietress said, I realized that everything I saw was just the surface of this city. In this city, there are people who can really make clouds and rain with just a wave of their hands. Cold sweat began to drip from my forehead. I will leave Rongchen now. Although I couldn't bear to leave the boss lady and was very reluctant to leave Chengdu, I didn't want to implicate her even more. The proprietress saw through my thoughts at a glance, gently held my hand, and her voice became gentle. I know you don't want to implicate me. But I've already told you that although our Luo family cannot defeat the Qin family in Rongchen, the Qin family cannot wipe out our Luo family. So, you don't have to worry about my safety. I tell you all this to let you know how serious this matter is to you. I hope you can learn from it and never act impulsively like today when you encounter similar things or people in the future. Next, you just need to listen to my arrangements. Even if Qin Feiyu wants to retaliate against you, he won't go too far. So you don't have to worry too much about it. I felt a little relieved when I heard the boss lady say this. Boss lady, tell me what you want me to do. I promise to listen to you. Chapter 27 Sister Shu invites you to dinner. When the boss lady saw my attitude, her expression began to relax. In fact, although the situation is serious, there is a solution. Qin Feiyu will go back to his hometown with his father to attend the funeral these days, and he will definitely not come to trouble you. We can take advantage of this time difference and find someone with a strong background to help us act as a peacemaker. At that time, let this person come forward and treat Qin Feiyu to a meal. You can then apologize to him in person, and the matter will be almost over. Even if Qin Feiyu is unwilling to let you go, he won't make things difficult for you for that person's sake. The key to the matter lies in the peacemaker we are looking for. The higher the status of this peacemaker, the more beneficial it will be to you. I immediately thought of Sister Shu. Can I find Sister Shu? The proprietress looked at me. If Sister Shu is willing to help us, that would be great. Even Qin Feiyu's father would be wary of the background of Sister Shu's family. The key point is that we may not be able to invite Sister Shu, who is like a great Buddha. She was able to help my daughter Yao Yao transfer back to the city today, which was a great honor for my father. I'm afraid it would be difficult to ask her to help you be a peacemaker again. The proprietress hesitated for a moment when she said this, and finally took out her cell phone and called Sister Shu. When the call was connected, the boss lady did not say that she wanted to ask Sister Shu to help mediate. She just said that she wanted to treat Sister Shu to a meal to express her gratitude to her. But Sister Shu politely declined. After hanging up the phone, the proprietress frowned slightly. I knew that asking Sister Shu, a great god, for help would not be an easy task. The lady boss said this, fearing that I was under too much pressure, and immediately comforted me, but you don't have to worry too much. Although Sister Shu refused my invitation to lunch, her attitude towards me was more polite than before. This shows that we still have a chance. I'm going to find some sisters now to find out what Sister Shu likes. Find out what Sister Shu likes, prepare a gift, and I'll take you to see her in the evening. There should still be a 50% chance of success. If that doesn't work, I'll find another peacemaker for you. But the effect might be a little worse, and you might suffer a little. Actually, when I heard from the boss lady that Sister Shu could compete with the Chin family, I was no longer as worried as before. It was just that I couldn't tell the boss lady about my relationship with Sister Shu. I could only hum vaguely. The boss lady thought I was still worried. The proprietress patted me lightly on the leg. Xiao Chen, you offended Qin Feiyu today because you helped us. No matter how much it costs, I will help you settle this matter. You don't have to worry too much. After saying that, the proprietress stood up and got out of the car. You go back to the company first. I'll call you if there's anything. How could I still think about work at this moment? After watching the boss lady leave, I immediately took out my cell phone and wanted to call Sister Shu to ask what to do about this matter. But as soon as I took out my cell phone, I saw a call from Sister Shu. When I saw it was Sister Shu, I was delighted and quickly answered the call. Sister Shu, do you have something to talk to me about? Sister Shu's tone was somewhat dissatisfied. I can't come to you if there's nothing wrong. I just helped you transfer Xie Yao back to the city, and you didn't even bother to treat me to a meal to thank me. I thought to myself, the boss's wife just called you to invite you to dinner, and you said you didn't have time, so why are you calling me again now and asking me to treat you to dinner? Although I thought so in my heart, I said, Sister Shu, you are so kind as to let me treat you to a meal. I would love it. Tell me, where do you want to eat? Sister Shu immediately sent me the location. Obviously she was prepared. The food at Shangshanju is good, and the environment is nice. How about we eat here? I took a look at the location that Sister Shu sent me, and my heart ached. I had been to Shangshanju several times with my boss before. The environment there was indeed very good, but the food was also surprisingly expensive. The average per capita amount is over 500. In other words, I have to prepare at least 1,000 yuan for this meal. My monthly salary is only 5,000 yuan now, and I have to spend 1,000 yuan on rent. In addition, food, cigarettes, and clothes cost about 2,000 yuan a month. At the end of the month, I can actually only save a little over 1,000 yuan. Treating Sister Shu to a meal is like a month of wasted work for me. But even so, I agreed without hesitation. No problem. Sister Shu, when will you get off work? I'll go to Shangshanju in advance to book a private room. After driving for Liliangsai for more than a year, I understand one thing: connections are more valuable than money. In order to curry favor with Sister Shu, our boss not only did not make any money from the house he renovated for their family, but he even lost tens of thousands of yuan. But even so, the boss tried to treat Sister Shu to dinner several times, but was still rejected by Sister Shu. Now that I have such an opportunity in front of me, although I feel sorry for the money, I still don't hesitate at all. Sister Shu seems to be in a good mood. No, I've already booked a private room. I get off work at 11:30, and it will take about 10 minutes to drive there. If you're not busy, you can go there and wait for me. When I heard Sister Shu say that she had already booked a private room, I realized that Sister Shu had planned this meal in advance. This made me nervous again. Sister Shu took the initiative to ask me to treat her to a meal, and it was obvious that she had other intentions. But what is her real intention? I absolutely don't believe that Sister Shu wanted to take the initiative to make friends with me, a young driver. My status and position are far different from Sister Shu's, and my wealth is even worse than hers. People like me are almost worthless to Sister Shu, and there is no need to make friends with me. Making friends with someone like me would only bring her trouble and not any benefit. Given that's the case, it was a bit strange that Sister Shu was still so proactive in calling me and using the fact that she was helping Xie Yao as an excuse to ask me to treat her to a meal. Just when I was confused about Sister Shu's intention, Sister Shu's charming face from last night appeared in my mind. It was the first time I saw Sister Shu, who was usually noble and dignified, become a lustful queen. Could it be that Sister Shu wants to pick me up? This thought just flashed through my mind for a moment, and then I immediately rejected it. Sister Shu is a married woman. Even if she wants to find a man, she can only go to a place like the aromatherapy shop quietly. She definitely doesn't dare to openly take her little puppy out to eat. If the news leaked out, her husband would probably kill both her and the man. I couldn't figure out Sister Shu's intention, so I simply stopped thinking about it. I started thinking about how to flatter Sister Shu when I met her later. Although flattering is not something I am good at, for the sake of survival and future, I must study this skill carefully. Although Sister Shu is only a director of the Municipal Health Bureau, her backing seems to be stronger than Qin Feiyu's father. If I can get close to Sister Shu, not only will I not have to worry about Qin Feiyu's revenge, but I can also rely on Sister Shu's connections to thrive in Chengdu. My boss relied on his father-in-law's connections in the construction bureau to quickly expand his business and build up his current fortune of tens of millions. If I can hold on to Sister Shu's big, thick legs, it would be easy for me to replicate the path to success of our boss Li Liangcai. Thinking that 10 years later I would be as rich as Li Liangcai, I started to feel my blood boiling.